end of the stream on Sunday, but that wasn't the case for Friday and Saturday. Of course, the format that we've got, for those unfamiliar, maybe missed last week or not quite sure, as we kind of already alluded to, Cloud, where we've reset things coming into week 2. Every week its own event in itself, but of course you get the PMS points, which is what you're fighting for, a little bit of money, and you do get some PGC points each week as well. So across the 4 weeks, of course, those PMS points will accumulate, and then after 4 weeks, the top 2 teams in terms of PMS points will go to the Esports World Cup representing the APAC region. So there's a lot to play for, not just across the 4 weeks encapsulating all 4, but every single week in itself.
Yeah, absolutely, right? The money is one thing, but the glory is another, and also the opportunity to move on to the next stage. That's something I believe that these teams will be eyeing for even more. Now, when it comes to the prize pool here, we do have the a separate prize pool for the finals, whereas the first and second place, highlighted there in gold, will receive a ticket to EWC, and of course, majority of the prize pool and lots of PGC points to come together with it. Whichever teams that that play in the finals, well, which is pretty much all of them, then they will be entitled to PGC points as well.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, as I said, you've got a little bit of money each week, but then the vast majority of the prize pools towards the end of the event itself. And yeah, the PGC points that you get for first along with EWC, there's a lot of reward even just outside of the monetary. As we go to the participating teams, and the other factor of this that's great is you're going to have the same 16 teams every single week. It creates for a really good dynamic where, you know, week 1, those first 3 days was a good opportunity to suss the lobby out, figure out where everyone's dropping, what they like to play, rotations, team fights. You go now, since Sunday, it's been a good couple of days, you go back, you VOD review, you have a really good idea now coming into the second week how this lobby likes to play.
Yep, and you get a good amount of time to rest as well, so that is very, very important. Besides just grinding the games, going through the trainings, going through the VOD reviews, having a good amount of rest is also very important, because when the game starts, like today, it's just going to go all the way until Sunday, and they're going to play every single day. And these are your participating teams, of course, here. For you, do you have any teams that you felt that was a surprise?
I mean, I wouldn't say surprise. It was difficult as well. I only came in on the Sunday, but I felt like the lobby was quite even. I didn't think there was a clear-cut runaway. Obviously, we know that August and Vega ended up topping the lobby, and it was great and exciting that it came down to the very last game. But even for those 2 teams, you know, Vega Esports had got their first win in game 4, and then their last game was in game 6, but that was an 18 kill win, and then they didn't get another chicken dinner after that, yet had an opportunity to still top the group. To me, that indicates how even this lobby is going to continue to play out. Maybe August is as a little bit of a surprise, just how dominant they were on the last day to claw back what was a little bit of a deficit. So not based on the team or the structure of the team, but just their ability to fight back what was a small deficit to take that first place by the end of week 1, which you can see here on the PMS points leaderboard. August in first with 100 points, Vega 80, and so forth down. And so it does mean for Team Circloud that if they want to eventually finish in that top 2 by the end of the 4 weeks, they themselves need to start picking up, you know, the likes of 100 or 80 points, so top 2 in the lobby each week, and making sure that August and Vega don't go on a bit of a run going into week 2 and 3.
Yeah, and of course you don't want to leave it till like the end, right? You want to start right now. Now that we're in week number 2, everything starts back from 0, and this is just to illustrate the PGC points as well. We'll obviously tabulate that later on. But as of now, on teams on page number 2, basically they don't receive everything. Only the top 4 will receive PGC points. So as you can see here, it's illustrated. And I would say that Oculus, for me personally, yes, they were at the deficit, they caught back, but if we were to zoom in onto those players, we know that they're OG players and they're very well experienced enough, and they know how to claw back, and they did show that they can do it.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was probably more about Vega. Vega had the opportunity going into that last day where they had a decent little gap and they just couldn't quite string together the games necessary, where if they had to put in maybe even just an average night, that might have been enough. It probably would have been enough, considering the point gap in the end was only 5 points, so really, really small. we look at the teams towards the bottom as well to kind of put a spotlight on them. I think that Team Newbies, they were basically in the bottom two for the vast majority of the first week. And then at the end of the last day, they actually finally started to string together some good performances, even ending with a win on the last game. 7 kills as well. That got them out of the bottom two. That got them a small amount of PMS points. So I wonder for them, and the teams towards the bottom that finished strong. Another one, ATO Esport, they picked up a win in the second last game. Shadow Esport, I thought, started to show some good promise towards the end. Can those teams get on a bit of a roll coming into week 2 to skyrocket up the leaderboard? So it's going to be a very hotly contested lobby. You've already got the teams that were at the top, but then the teams towards the middle and the bottom that started to perform towards the back end of week 1 as we look at some of the highlights.
Yeah, and these are highlights from week number 1, and if you see that Vega, they held that number 1 spot for quite a while, and their gap at some point was quite significant. But on the third day, they kind of dropped the ball. Starting off game 1, they went into unnecessary fights that cost them heavily, and the rest just was history from there. With the fact that Oculus also had a good performance, so they kind of clawed back to that number 1 spot. But I personally felt that Savage Man Esports could have done better. I mean, these names are names that we have seen for quite a while right now, like Upchen, like Xavier. They're very experienced players. So I do expect them to make a good comeback starting today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the likes of Monk and X-Men are 2 teams that could easily top this lobby. They got the quality, they got the experience. We saw this wonderful play from Upchen back on Sunday where he picked up a bit of a squad wipe essentially. And I think they've, as you mentioned, got that quality, there's that experience, and if they can put it all together, this is certainly a lobby that they can get, I think, a good result. Game Start Wins, another one that actually lived up to their name, where they kind of started really, really nicely on the first 2 nights, and then on Sunday, they just couldn't string anything together. So there's the consistency that's always going to be a factor when it comes to PUBG. That's pretty normal. And so the beauty of this format is you're not going to get overly punished by, maybe starting well in the first 2 nights for a GSW and then having a kind of not the greatest night 3. Well, now you get the opportunity coming into week 2 to refine some form. Orcatera, another one as well that I thought finished really nicely. So like, can they continue to rise to the occasion? Like for Vega and for August, they might have struck while the iron was hot. On the first 2 nights, a lobby that's starting to adjust, figure things out. Now that the lobby's settled, it'll be curious to see these kind of teams like Orcatera, Game Start, Win, Monk, X-Men, will they be able to have more influence? I think week 2 might actually end up being more exciting than week 1 when it's all said and done, because we have the knowledge of week 1, but now what the future potentially brings for week 2 is exciting.
Yeah, and now that we're highlighting Orcatera, right, they finished in 5th place. And can you imagine that they were just only 1 step to the top 4 at least? So they came really, really close. That's always the hardest placement, or the hardest result is just 1 step below from at least the main objective. But we also have here the kill leaders for week number 1. So CJ from Oculus, we have Alec from Oculus as well leading the chart. But look at the gap between them and also the others, right? We have Aimbot with 26 and then Lunu 26 as well, and MT at 25. So the gap is quite significant here. And this is shown especially from the 3rd day performance that was really, really good.
I think the standout for me is Ludlun. Now for X-Men, they only finished in the top 4 once, which was a win. So that's a pretty poor showing in terms of placement points, but clearly they've got the fragging power. Ludlun with 26 kills close to the top end. We saw Upchen get a really good result individually as well on the final day on Sunday. So clearly the fragging power is there for X-Men, but to finish in the bottom 4 is just a testament that they couldn't quite get the placement points, couldn't get the deep finishes. They couldn't put the whole package together where they're getting the kills, but they're also living to the late game. Go to today's matches, and as is the case with the schedule, Erangel first up, then we go through the map rotation of Tego, Rondo, Miramar, and then we close out with Erangel for our 5 matches here to start week 2, day 1.
Yeah, and with the fact that we're going to play 2 Erangels every day, so this is the map that teams need to really master. And of course, this is the OG map of Erangel. Everyone has played Erangel before. It's the first map that you will play when you start off PUBG. So these teams should know the map like the back of their hand. And we can see these teams now prepping up for the game. Now, coming into day number one, it's going to be quite hard for us to expect like what kind of performance are they going to put up. Is it because of other teams affecting them because they have did their own respective VOD reviews and they found ways to overtake other teams? Or will the teams that dominated week number one, like Oculus, like Vega, will continue on their domination again? Any teams that you think that might be one of those underdog teams that might rise up this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think underdog team is subjective, firstly, because I think in a lobby such as this, you could probably list almost all 16 teams and find some positive angle to spin and suggest that they can go on and perform. I mean, I mentioned Team Newbies again. I thought they closed out last week really nicely. So have they got a bit of form from that? How much work have they then put in during the last couple of days, VOD reviewing, finding ways that they can get more points in games? Happy Squad's probably another one as well that I might have expected a little bit more out of, to be honest. I mean, Monty's a class player, international experience. Elgin Bots, Nan have obviously been around such a long time. Tentrip had a good performance as well in week one. So maybe Happy Squad, actually, now that they're on our screen is a really good example, I think, of a team that can probably finish in the top 2, top 3, absolutely. But you could make the argument for, honestly, a lot of teams in this lobby. It's a good thing and it's sometimes a bad thing as well. It goes both ways. Maybe a bad thing in the sense that there's not 1 or 2 teams that are just so unnaturally good that they're just that much better than the lobby, so that when they do go overseas, they're going to do really well. But it's a good thing in the sense that the competition that we have in APAC right now is still very equal, and that creates more competition and breeds success. And so as long as everyone continues to improve together, I mean, that's only a positive. Oculus, of course, maybe haven't spoken enough about them, considering they're going to be looking to go for back-to-back this week. So they're already in the best position. They've already got the 100 points. Mad Dog, CJ Alec, Ia, goes without saying, such a good team. They will be difficult to stop. And I don't think it's a question of Oculus playing worse than last week. It's what happens if everyone else starts to play better, you know? So do they get leapfrogged a little bit, you know? So they're going to have to stay on their A game, and they'll know that they're a little bit hunted coming into week 2.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point, right? Because this is a game of like 16 teams together, right? So if one team starts to step up the game, then everyone has to step up. It's kind of like a domino effect, essentially. So if you don't step up the game, like from game to game, from day to day, from week to week, then it's going to be difficult. Then you might be left behind, because like what you also pointed out, there are a lot of other teams that have that level of experience, that level of gameplay that we have seen before, and I'm pretty sure that they can show us today here, starting off in game number 1. And we're going to start off with Erangel here, my personal favorite map, so let's head on to it.
So it's the first match for week 2 of the PUBG Master Series. All the talk is done. Time to get underway with the action. First week in the books. All eyes will be on the likes of Oculus and Vega if they can maintain their position to the top of this lobby. And certainly then to see where everyone else is going to stack up coming into week 2. Who are going to be the ones that, you know, maybe had a good week 1, couldn't quite back it up, and the ones who maybe didn't get the most out of week 1 that bounce back in week 2. It's going to be the case. It's only statistically likely that will happen. So now we just get to sit back over the next 3 days and see how this lobby unfolds for week 2. And then the beauty is once you get to the end of week 2, then you're halfway through. So you've still got then plenty of time. It's not make or break. But if I have to be honest, if we do see Vega and Oculus perform again really well, I'm talking top 2, top 3 by the end of week 2, then it becomes their lobby to lose by the end of the whole series, to be honest. So it's really important coming into week 2 now for all of these teams that didn't finish in maybe the top 3, that they've got to pick up the points by the end of week 2.
And since this is also a restart, a refresh for all the teams, right? So I don't expect to see any hot drops in this game, or even throughout the entire day as well. As a matter of fact, like last week, I don't think there were many major hot drops, if not none. So surely as the start of today, we'll definitely not see any of that. And we can see that all these teams are well spread out. Circle is going to be all up north, but this is going to be the tricky one, right? With this kind of circle, like whether you want to play at the northern side of Jogopol or you want to play on the southern side of Jogopol just because of that river.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a good opening circle, considering the position of it, you're right in the sense that you're going to question the river, but I think it's a little too far north for me. That if I'm in this lobby, I'm definitely playing on the north side of this river. Now, of course, you've got the teams that are deep south of Erangel that might not have a choice. They might come in late. And there is enough variance that for phase 2 it could shift back down south, and then that's the circle where it will end up being a genuine 50-50. But I think in terms of and sometimes you look at these circle shifts and you just put it into statistics, it's probably like a 65-35 chance that it's going to go up north or south. So you want to put your eggs in the basket that's statistically more likely. We look at the kill leaders from the first week. Again, I touched on Lonlon, but also I want to touch on Aimbot too from Vega, where his kill to damage ratio, I think, was the best. Maybe not by the end, like not by the 15th game, but certainly going into the last 2 or 3 games, it was absolutely the best. Unfortunately, then evidently in the last couple of games, he and the rest of Vega just couldn't quite get what they wanted to finish off in that first spot, but still 80 points on the week is good. ATO, of course, as I said, they got a win on the last day. So the likes of ATO, newbies, those teams that did really well on the last day, that's going to be the curiosity for me coming into week 2 is, can they continue to perform? And yeah, might have had a slow start. There will be teams that once we get to the end of week 4, you'll look back and be like, oh, geez, they really started slow, like the first 2-3 days, but then they got going. There will be probably 1 or 2 teams that fit that mantra.
Yeah, so I guess the learning here is that you got to start fast as well. You cannot like, okay, let's wait and see how it goes. Let's leave it to day number 2. Let's leave it to day number 3. By then, the point gap might be just too big for them to even reach the top 4. Now, one other thing that I believe that we have learned from week number 1 as well is like if you're a high-ranking team, like maybe like August or maybe like Vega, you start off really well and you have that cushion at the top. As well, like you create a little bit of room, a little bit of gap against the other team, so that will put you in a comfortable spot. So that's one, just because you started off well. And the other teams, well, ideally they need to do that kind of move as well, like start off well, get as many frags as possible, so that towards the end, even though if you got caught up, like in the case of Vega, you still have a good gap between number 2 and number 3. So you end up the week in number 2, it's still not too bad.
Yeah, I think that it's not so much, obviously, you put it nicely in terms of teams that maybe start slow, leaving days. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. Like you're just getting outplayed, or it might be positional mistakes, or just having to work together as a team to improve. And that's always a thing that sometimes we don't speak enough about is the teams that actually put the work in behind the scenes, and we just don't know unless you go and specifically ask them, hey, what was your prep like coming into week 2? What did you learn from week 1? And that's sometimes difficult information to get, and it comes down to the work ethic of a team. Week 1 might not have gone your way. You can't just then take 4 days off, do nothing. You've got to prep, you got to scrim, you got to VOD review, you got to put the work in, and then you do that, you'll likely then get rewarded coming into week 2 anyways. We see the rotation starting to take place 5 minutes into the game. Most teams going north side of the river, which is not a surprise. Of course, the teams that are on the south side of the island will make their way up slowly, as we do see an opportunity here for SavageMan Esports. Spray down onto the moving US, and it is going to be the knock on the cans. And Namxiao also got knocked out by Lunlon. Perfect start for SavageMan Esports.
Wow, that is a really, really good spray there to get that knock, and surely they will lock in the elimination point. Very smart move as well by SavageMan Esports to wait at the bridge, considering that there are teams that will start from the main to the base itself, and they're expected to take this left side bridge just because of how the circle is, and they took advantage of that situation. But now Upchen is in for the chase, and looks like he will get his target.
I mean, this is really good for SavageMan Esports because they've got 3 kills to start with. They didn't lose a single player. And I think that was maybe sometimes the issue for them back in week 1 is they could get kills. We saw that with Lunlon, 26 kills. We saw that with Upchen and his ability to win 1v3s, etc. But they just lacked the ability to get late game. I mentioned it before in the pre-show. I only found top 4 finish once, which was a win through 15 matches. So you're getting these kills. That's great. But the fact that they've kept 4 alive and increased their likelihood of making a good run at this, that's the biggest thing. The downside, though, is they're very pier. So where the circle is based, north side of the island, of course, they're going to rotate up. They're not going to get a prior position for phase 2, unless it's a south shift. Phase 2 is likely to go north side shift, which means that they're going to be taking a long time to get into any kind of deeper position. It might end up being an edge game for them, which I think plays into the strength of Savage Mini Esports. They're a good fragging team, play edge, and that might suit them for this game. 3 minutes till phase 2. They're on the move. They're actually the further south team at Ferry Pier. ATO were towards Primorsk. They're starting to make their way up on the Western Highway. Everyone else is essentially already in this circle.
I like that you brought up the point of the edge game, right? And I see it as not bad as well, because if you play by the edge, you'll be presented with more opportunities to frag rather than you play in the middle and you need to play a little bit more defensive. You need to wait for people to come to you. Then you have a chance to frag. But if you play by the edge, you need to push in and in and in and in. Yes, it might sound harder, but then again, you're presented with the opportunity of getting those eliminations in, which is probably what X-Men will be looking for now that they started off well with 3 kills.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that being a frag-heavy team as long as you are able to supplement that with placement points. I don't think I've ever seen a tournament where, a team is bottom 4, bottom 5 in terms of placement points, and they're in the top 3 of the overall leaderboard. You always got to be able to do both. That's what the best teams are capable of doing. I don't think we're going to see too much more action, though, for this phase 1 circle. You get the late rotators coming in. Everyone else is pretty happy with their positions. So in terms of the split, looking at the map, for me, you've got Happy Squad and Game State Win just around Everest. And then you've got Alter Ego just hanging around Watertown. So there's not... That's about 3 teams, and then there's one over towards Georgia Pool. So you got like maybe 3-4 teams that have elected to stay on the south side of the river, which means the vast majority, the overwhelming majority, is on the north side. Which does mean then, if it does shift north in a minute and a half, phase 2, and I'm talking a hard shift up north, well and truly away from that river position, those teams on the south side are definitely going to have a bit more trouble moving forward with this game. Not impossible by any means, but more rotations, a little bit more careful with their positioning, whereas the teams that have already gone north should be able to get good positions to hold.
Yeah, statistically, the circle should go up north, but for entertainment, I would love the circle to go all the way down south. Like let phase 2 circle split that river and let it pull all the way down to the Gaka Mountain area. I think that'll be pretty fun. Of course, not for the players, but for us, we will have a good entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it's always entertaining when you get those kind of split circles. I mean, that's what the game is at the end of the day as an esport. It's all about entertainment. As much as the players maybe want simplicity and ease and to keep things nice and comfortable, the beauty of PUBG is that it doesn't always play out all that comfortable. So X-Men have backfilled in Gatka Field. Same with ATO, actually, as we get a little fight. CJ's caught out, one out in the open. So Show going to go down. I'm assuming he just gets caught on the timing going for the buggy, and CJ was just watching and waiting. That's really unfortunate for GSW, and I'm surprised he's even there by himself, as the rest of the team is at Everest, and that is a very northwestern circle shift, so it doesn't even go directly north, even pulls away Zaki's side of the circle. And it does mean, though, that there's a little bit more space. If it had to go more directly north, there were teams that probably would have been more included, but because there's now less teams included on that northwestern shift, there's more space towards the very north side around that highway coming out of Zaki. You've also got Georgia Pool that's in because of this shift, so the apartments in Georgia Pool, at least North Georgia Pool, now going to be in. So these teams that are, and there's like 4 or 5 teams just around Georgia Pool right now, they'll cross the bridge. That's going to be quite deadly. That's going to be interesting to see how many of those teams can get through that safely. Even past now, Orcatera, I've got Team Newbies pushing up down to the crash plane, and it's a good start so far. Hafiz has been able to get 1 knock, a dip as well onto Snipehole, and Translucent did get 1, but it was just the drive over onto Dip. And it seems as if for Team Newbies, who were our last chicken dinner winners to close out week 1, it seems like they're going to be the first team eliminated.
Oh, but then again, Unforgiven is going to try to fight for his life, though. But he's well surrounded right now. And like what you mentioned, Team Newbies is the first team to be eliminated. All points given towards Orcatera. And now Orcatera, they need to reset because there are more teams around them that they're eyeing their position.
Yeah, I mean, you lose one there, not ideal for Orcatera, but you pick up the 4 kills, and as you said, a couple of teams maybe are close by, but that's just the way that the circle goes. Jing goes down as well to Lunlin, who has already got himself 2 kills. Perfect start so far for Savage Men Esports. They just lingered around Georgia Paul, and they've been able to pick up even more kills onto Happy Squad, who pushed in on the hospital side, so they were coming in south. So not only did they get that free kill onto Jing, they were also then able to do a pretty good job onto Happy Squad, who are just down to 2 players now, and it's a 6-kill start for Savage Man Esports, which is the perfect start to the week. A real good confidence booster, gives them a solid platform to build off going into the rest of tonight. And so the vast majority of the lobby has actually been eliminated by either Savage Man Esports or Katera.
Yeah, I mean, if you can chase a team on the outside the circle, trying to shoot them away like what Savage Man Esports did to Happy Squad, you're definitely at the top of the level of confidence here. So great work here by Savage Man Esports, and because of that, they're rewarded with 6 kill points as of now. And yeah, they're going to take their time to rotate in back up north, but that's going to be okay because teams up north will move as well. So by the time those teams move, they would have enough space for themselves to go in.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of space in this circle as well. Pretty open terrain, but it's a lot of hilly terrain. So if you can just find some balls, some deflates, some rocks, vehicles, so important as well to create these kind of fortified positions that Juan doesn't really need. The solo for Zen Esports is just going to try and find somewhere to go prone, get out of probably the more hectic areas, and he's not even going to get away. He's been spotted. Orcatera, and it's going to be Zen Esports going out in second last. Our second team eliminated already just 13 minutes into the game. And that's what PUBG can do, though, when these circles go for hard shifts. So we look at Monk, by the way. They came into the game with just the 3 players. High Command couldn't connect, unfortunately, due to a PC issue.
Yeah, which is unfortunate for Zen as well, right? Because they were one of the last teams of week number 1 in the overall chart. So this is the week that they need to really push up. And this first game is not the start they would have wanted, but just like any other gamer would say, right? If the first game doesn't work out for you, you tell yourself that, okay, it's a warm-up game, and you just pick yourself back up again later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at it in that way, but the longer it goes on, naturally, you're going to start to be concerned. It's only human. The bad thoughts can start to creep into the back of the mind, and hopefully for their sake, they can just kind of look at it as like, first game, even if it is week 2, just warm into the week. Some teams have different expectations and goals. I mean, I know everyone in this lobby wants to go to EWC and collect as many PGC points and make as much money, but some teams might be a little bit more newer, or maybe lack a little bit of experience. And so some teams come into these events and it's like, can we get top 8? Can we get top 10? Can we get top 5? And then you've got other teams that are like, no, we need to win. We got to get that top spot. We got to get at least top 2. As Queen for Alter Ego, another team I felt like, not only do they have a lot of experience and with that a lot of expectations, last week had good opportunities, just maybe couldn't make the most of it. Zeno by himself, as game start win, just got picked apart this game, and pretty much all of their deaths have been solos. Unfortunately for Monk, though, they will lose 1, and that is not ideal for a team that already came into the game with 3 players, now down to 2 despite the shack clear.
Well, that was a good one by Zeno as well. He wanted to ensure that at least if he goes out, he's still able to secure that 1 extra kill point, and he did so. So still great stuff. Still great stuff. Not the most ideal sort of situation, but I guess you take whatever that you can get at this point. Now, like what you said, for Monk, unfortunately, they'll be playing the rest of the round with only 2 players, and with the amount of teams left at this moment, and you have 2 players to play, it's going to be quite a difficult round for them.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly will be. I mean, the lobby is starting to shred a little bit. So for the 2 remaining, they're in the center circle. It's just all about, can they find a safe spot, stay out of the fray, stay out of the fighting for the next, I'd say, 7 minutes or so, get towards the late game and then see what they can do as a duo. Can they get into the top 8, pick up a couple of placement points? At least they got the 1 kill point. It's just sometimes, again, PUBG matches don't always go your way. It doesn't always go to plan. Sometimes you got to scrap and fight as a 3-man or as a duo, pick up what you can. And then other games, you get off to a perfect start, 4 up, you win a team fight, there's 3 or 4 kills, off you go. So every game's going to be pretty different. Right now for Savage Man Esports, they've made the most of it, as Halfies has been able to spot the 2 members of Monk over towards that shack. Takes a couple of pot shots at Nikos as we're 5 seconds away from phase 4 circle. This should be the big one. If it continues to go dead center, there's not a lot of, again, positions to really hold out. It has gone a little bit towards the west, which is good news for some teams, most notably for NRG, as they can hold their hill for a little bit longer. Happy squad, not so happy as Luna and Goni able to find the last 2 kills on the Tentrip and Nan. Not a good start at all for Happy squad. Again, I think they would have had expectations coming into week 2, perform a little bit better, pick up some good points. Such a good squad. They just lost that battle towards Hospital against Savage Men Esports. Queen, good knockdown onto Savior. London out of the vehicle, though, does get the immediate trade. This is a scrappy one for Savage Men Esports. The nature of coming into this circle a little bit late from the south side of the circle. And so taking this fight now with Alter Ego, Orcatera also somewhat around the vicinity, and same with Shadow Esports. So this could get really nasty really quickly for Savage Men Esports. Upchan sliding down the hill. Trick waiting and biding his time for these shots. Going to need to reload the mini.
And the time won't be on their side, though. The circle will close in about, well, right now. So they have to decide on how they're going to get in quickly. Queen will be eliminated by Lundun. That's going to be point number 7 for Savage Man Esports. While Man just waiting for the right opportunity to bring in a couple of frags for Alter Ego Esports. Trick doing the same from another angle. And all these teams, they are playing on the outside of the circle. And this is phase 4 that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, these are the teams that came in from the south side. Circle continues to shift north. It's pretty normal. As Trick has a little angle there on the left side of the smoke. Man gets knocked down by Kira for ATO. That one's actually a pretty decently long angle found. So ATO aren't close to this fight, but they have an impact. Really unlucky for Man, and really unlucky for Alter Ego, because this was a very winnable fight against Savage Men Esports, who have been able to get that res. So they're back to 4 up. Suspect knocked down by Hansi. That one's just a little bit north of the fight that we're kind of watching here. Samoy stuck out inside of the blue. Luckily, still only phase 4, and did have the blue shield as well, but now he's going to start ticking down. 3 per second. It is going to hurt, and that he's got a distance to run to that next circle as well. This is looking really rough for Alter Ego Esports. Essentially, Trick, you may as well count him as the last one up, because Samoy's got a distance to run. P90 spray, not going to connect. Now, Savage Men Esports, it hasn't been clean, but they've been able to just scrape through nicely. 4 men up, get into a good spot. They are quite fortunate Orcatera didn't come over for a third party. That wouldn't have helped them. As we switch over to the western side of the circle, got XP with a knockdown on to Loba. As mentioned before, NRG playing one of the hill positions out to the west in a good spot.
Yeah, and they're playing the gatekeeping role now against ATO, but soon the circle will shift in about 15 more seconds. Faith, on the other hand, long range, putting pressure onto the other side. Crazy Dog takes a lot of damage, but lucky enough for him, he's still able to recover himself, so he will be A-okay. But now, circle time, and looks like Monk is right smack in the middle of the circle. They only have 2 players, though, so they're praying for the circle to favor them, and of course it will still. And they're in a position that they are clear away from other teams, so they should be fine for now.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an edge game kind of circle. It's played out really nicely for Savage Men Esports. I mean, they picked up the 9 kills. Very difficult to go for a center position. There's no compounds. There's not a lot of safe locations to hold and hide, especially now with third person. Like, the trees are not as amazing to play around. They can be used a lot more offensively, as NRG need to probably get a little bit more on the front foot here, because they're 2-2 split right now. Turtle and Faith not close to Crazy Dog and God XP. ATO starting to push up. And if they get close and get an early knock, they can then take this space on the western side. Vega are just towards the northwest of the circle, not opting to push down. And maybe that's what NRG were a little bit mindful of. And so they've actually gone 3-1 split. They'll leave Turtle as the anchor behind, just to make sure they're not going to get back build, and certainly to make sure they're not going to get third party. It's a decent strategy. Clearly for NRG, they're not trying to push and take this fight. They're in the better position, and they know that ATO's in the worst position, as you said before, trying to gatekeep them as much as possible. But look at the open terrain. There's not much really to hold behind.
Yeah, and ATO, they don't have a choice. Looks like they decided to go down south, but now we switch over to the right side of the circle. Zanchin now is in trouble. Lots of teams gatekeeping them from coming in, and they don't seem to have a entry point into the circle. It's going to be really difficult for them with the fact that the blue is just right behind them. Now RZ, blue is on top of him and definitely will chunk down his health. Sly Fox received damage as well from afar. Now we have Akosi, fights back. At least he got one for himself. Hansi will be eliminated, but here comes the rest of them, and Akosi will go down next.
Yeah, Nikos did a good job as well there. I mean, remember they're a duo. He kind of just stole a kill. So that's an extra kill point, getting closer to that top of 8. So despite starting the game as 3 for Monk, they might end up having a decent little game put together, as Crazy Dog is knocked down by Gops. Turtle and God XP, the only 2 left for NRG. Despite a decent position that they had, they played the split game and it's completely backfired. And now Turtle's getting wrapped upon. Good little drive-by. They've cleaned up NRG very nicely here. ATO have done a decent job, although there's only the one standing. This is actually a straight 1v1 at the moment, as God XP and Kia trying to battle for supremacy towards the west. Might not have the best of opportunity to go for the res, as we're going to see X-Men just get eliminated. 11 kills, but out in 10th. I tell you what, though, it might not be top 8. There might not be placement points, but when you go and get 11 kills, you've still gotten quite a lot out of this game. Kia does eventually get eliminated. Nice little reposition from God XP. And Turtle moving behind the tree, kept himself alive. That's a res, and we're into the final 8 teams.
And now circle shift again, and Monk still has the circle, though playing by the edge of it, but that's okay. They'll still be able to survive longer with this kind of circle. Now, the bigger question is that for RZ, how is he going to get out of this sticky situation? He does have the high ground against Setsuna. I would say that Setsuna is in a really, really tough spot. Yeah, there you go. Nikos got him with a mini 14, and that's going to be Shadow Esports eliminated.
Yeah, just active from Monk. Sometimes when you're a duo, center of the circle, you kind of want to sit back, play what I would argue very defensive, and they're just not going to do that. They're going to make sure that they're active, eyes out, see if they can get good opportunities when they present themselves, and that's why they've been able to pick up a couple of extra kills. Not only that, but they're picking up some placement points. So these are the kind of games that over the course of even just the 1 week, 15 matches, where if you can just string together 4 to 5 points. You started as 3, someone didn't connect, you have an issue. The clear over towards the shack didn't go as well as you'd like. It was a 1-for-1 trade, not ideal, down to 2 players. Yet you're still got 5 points from this game. You still got 2 players up, and it's no longer a particularly healthy lobby. I mean, Augless are the only ones with 4 players alive, which that in itself is something to kind of speak about. It's Vega that have got the circle on the north side as 3. They too, like Monk, came into this game with only the 3 players. As Ziazi just goes for a death run. It's Cherry that picks up the kill for Armor, and we go down to 6 teams remaining. There's a fair chance this could actually be Augless and Vega once again, as it was week 1. There's Armor Esports getting aggressive on Orcatera, pushing in towards the compound of Augless. This is no longer inside of the circle. As 3 kills now for Augless confirmed. Most importantly, they've still got 4 players up, so they're starting to get fed going into the late game.
And a lot more teams down south here. Alec tries to make his way across, but just right beside him, there's a player from Orcatera, but he doesn't know because of that smoke. If only he has that vision. But he's circling around. Okunya is right inside of it, and I think he's starting to get a hunch that somebody is inside there.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why they're jumping in the smoke with the third person, you can go in the smoke, jump around, and try and get as much info as possible due to the camera. So it's a bit of a new technique, I guess, if you will, with TPP. Molotov's very, very strong in this era too with the smokes. Nikos does get knocked down by Aimbot, but I mean, anything from here is just a bonus for Monk. Already picked up the 7 points. And for Augless, they're the only healthy team remaining. I'm not going to guarantee them a win from this position. I still like the overall circle position of Vega. The benefit for Augless is they got the 1 extra player. If I had to pick, though, yeah, very much is looking like it's down to the 2 teams that topped the lobby from week 1, Vega and Augless. Both started this game particularly quiet. Alec does get eliminated by God XP. That's not ideal for Augless, though, considering it was from one of the solos. As God XP trying to get some more damage in, almost finding the knock, doesn't quite convert. Vegas still not opting to push. Again, it's a pretty open terrain. You're going to move tree to tree, maintain a safe position. But this is going to be an intriguing end to this game. But most importantly, it's the fact that Augless and Vega, again, start well for week 2.
Yeah, and God XP right now, Circle, look at this, kind of far away from him. And with the fact that he pulled the trigger, so his opponents know exactly where he is. And he'll need to move forward soon in about 25 more seconds. And that's where he will expose himself. Surely he will go down, unless if he decides to give himself up to the blue. That could be the only way. If not, it could be point to another team.
No, I don't think you die to blue here. It's game 1 of week 2. If it were the last game of week 2, when your potential point given over mattered, maybe, but you've got only anything to gain and nothing really to lose in a position like this. And evidently, him getting that extra kill that we saw before, and maybe one here as well. Whoa. Lovely shots with the Mark 12 from God XP. Yeah, this is why you stay active, you stay in the game. He picked up one before onto Auglis, and it seems like he might be able to get a second one. Indeed, he will bleed out onto Mad Dog. So that's 2 extra critical kills from God XP for NRG. Now shifts them temporarily up into 3rd place, and the lobby becomes very intriguing now. 3 up for Vega, still on the north side of this circle. Solo for Monk and NRG, Auglis with just the 2. And this really opens up the ability for probably all 4 teams to still have a chance at actually winning this game.
Yeah, and Vega has been rather quiet, and that's reflective of their 4 kills. But here comes God XP trying to navigate around the smoke from tree to tree and using the smoke as cover to reset himself. But CJ surely will continue to put pressure onto him. But somehow God XP is able to slide into the circle.
Yeah, I mean, the smokes have helped him. That's the big reason, but also the way he's playing this, he's aggressive, he's throwing nades, he's shooting, he's landing shots. When you're doing that, it's really difficult then even for the 2 of Auglis members to actually stop him from being able to push forward. His smoke usage has been good, positioning's been good. Tries to take this angle here, tried to maybe dip into the blue temporarily just to see if he can get some more damage in. Because if he lands those tags, gets them low, forces them to go gun down, start healing. That relieves the pressure. He's done a really good job. This is a really good masterclass right now, just pushing. He's not scared of the 2v1. He does die in the end, but boy, he played that as well as he possibly could to get into a position where maybe, just maybe, he could have done something very special. Outnumbered, yes, but in a 2v1 scenario like that, crossing that little ravine, he did a good job.
Yeah, he definitely made the boys of Auglis sweat right there. That was a really, really good run, though. But now we're down to the top 3. So we have Monk, we have Vega, and Auglis. And if we were to look at the circle advantage, it does favor Vega. And plus, they have the high ground advantage. They know where exactly Auglis is at. They can pin them down, just like what AJ is doing right now, keeping them in check. All they need to do right now is just to have an idea where the last player of Monk is, and I believe they do, with the fact that they have 2 players deployed on the other side to keep an eye on him.
And interestingly enough, if you kind of look at the top 6 teams that we have, I think it's a combination of the teams that did well week 1 and maybe the teams we expect to do well in a lobby such as this. I mean, SavageBet Esports, the 11 points that they've got from this one game, it took them 7 games in week 1 to get to that point tally. So you've just skipped 7 games worth from week 1 and already bang, perfect start for week 2. Yeah, no placement points, they'll work on that, but huge performance from them, despite having been out for quite some time, still sitting in 2nd for the moment. It's obviously going to change by the end of this opening match. I will say I don't see a world in which Vega lose this unless they absolutely hard throw. They got best circle position, they got the numbers. This really needs to be their win. They've got to get the chicken dinner here in this game.
Yeah, I don't see how as well they will be able to drop the ball unless they choose to rush in entirely and all that. But beautiful nade there by AJ to get CJ. And now we're at phase number 9, no circle at all. That means that the final player of Monk and Auglis will need to move forward. They will expose themselves. Ia will take advantage of that situation, and Frame Mob will be eliminated, now leaving Ia as final player of Auglis, and it's going to be a 3v1. This is definitely going to be Vega's game.
Yeah, still decent game though from Auglis. I mean, they just kind of sat in the compound on the south side of the circle, kept it pretty quiet. But it's Vega that get the win. Winner, chicken dinner. Indeed, what a way to start for week 2. Vega versus Auglis to close it out. Our 2 top teams from week 1 battling for the chicken dinner. And a little bit of revenge maybe for Vega, because they were holding that top spot throughout the majority of week 1 until Auglis snatched it at the end on the final day. Well, that's the perfect start for Vega to get the win. Looking for that redemption here in week 2.
Yeah, with the fact that they played the entire round with only 3 players, but still able to come out with a chicken dinner. So that is great. Imagine what they could do if they had like a full team, like 4 players, right? It's probably not only the chicken dinner, but they could also bring in a lot more kill points as well. But nevertheless, you can't complain with the fact that the chicken dinner is a chicken dinner. So congratulations to Vega Esports.
Yeah, and this is why I always say when you've got just 3 players coming into a lobby, PUBG is one of the maybe only games or only esports where, you know, you're down a player starting a match and you still have a chance to win. It just comes down to a philosophy change in your play style. You know, you can't play the way that Savage Man Esports played in that game. Perfect example. Running around, taking fights, being aggressive. You're coming into the game with 3 players. You've got one goal in mind. Can you get to a good position, play the circle early? And that's exactly what Vega were able to do. Kind of look back at the game, and again, what really you take into account was as well, they looted around Quarry, and this was a northern circle. So they knew full well, we're playing as 3, how do we want to play this? They stick on the western side, they come in relatively early, they cross through from Georgia Paul, and then from there they're just hard wrapped on the western side of the circle and went as far north as they possibly could. Get away from the action. You know full well in a circle like this, it's going to be a lot of teams coming in from the south. You're only 3 players, get away from it, play the late game. Did they get a little fortunate? Somewhat. I mean, the circle shifted to the north side. They weren't there when it shifted north. They rotated there. It just happened to be no one else opted to go to that north side of the circle. And because of that, they were very quiet for the vast majority of the game until around this point. They had the 4 kills, cleaned out a couple of teams on the northeast and northwest, and then they were able to use the number advantage, ironically, starting as 3 and ending with 3.
Yeah, and I really, really love how Vega adapted to the situation, right? They know that they are 1 man down, but they played it accordingly. Like, okay, we don't go and hunt for teams or play from the outside coming in. That means that we need to take more fights, but we're at a deficit when it comes to players, manpower. So instead, they played it safe. They went all the way up. They took the high ground before anyone else did, and they just stay away from teams until a certain point where they are like, okay, we're confident right now, looking at the number of players available left on the battleground and also the type of geographical advantage that they have. That's when they start to show up. So I really like how they adapted to the situation.
Yeah, on the flip side, I think Savage Man Esports, it got spoken about quite a bit throughout that game. Again, you do need to, in the long run, combine what they sort of did in the early portion of that game where you're getting those kills, you're looking quite dominant, gun in hand, taking those fights, but just need to see them. Can they get to the late game? Like, can they? That's going to be a determining factor for them and their ability to finish top 2 in this lobby by the end of week 2. Is can they start actually making top 4? So you played 16 matches of PUBG.
He could have used better
one single
grenades
top 4 finish.
when he threw that flash.
Like, that's
2 consecutive
more often
flashes.
than not going to see you have a
And
lot of
then the
success.
third one, we
Even
did
if
go
they
right. I
did
think
walk
he
away
should
with
have
11
used that
kills
grenade
in that
properly.
game, they still finished 10th. That's fine. And if you did that every game, well, that might actually be enough to obviously get you in that top spot. But that's so unlikely. The reason why you're getting those kills sometimes might be determined by the circle, might be determined by the way that teams are rotating around you. These factors you can't always control. What you can control, positioning and placement. So I do need to see them probably aim for that a little bit more rather than just opting to be so kill happy and try and find a way to combine the both of them, because at the end of the day, Vega got half their kills, but they still walked away with more points.
Yeah, because of obviously the chicken dinner, right? And we also got to give it to Okatera as well. They came in with 10 total kills, and they finish, when it comes to points, on top of Orgless. So great job there. Orgless, even though they got a 2nd place finish, but because their total kills is only 6, so they end up at 3rd. But of course, to me, the commendable one this round is Savage Man Esports, who's able to climb up to a 4th place finish in terms of points collected. And like what you said, right, it's very circle dependent, situation dependent. There's so many there's so many elements to decide on, like, okay, whether this will work again for them in the next round. So adaptation is going to be key for Savage Man Esports.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You need to find a way to combine both. Maybe you don't overinvest in certain fights. Maybe you rotate a little earlier. Maybe you actually prioritize position over the fights and then let the fights come to you a bit more. Remains to be seen. But again, you're not going to complain with the game that they had. It's just the consistency of that is usually unlikely. And also shout out to Monk. I mean, the 2 teams that came into the game with 3 players. I mean, we had a 62 team lobby. 62 player lobby. Both actually had really good games. I mean, one got a chicken dinner and then the other one got 9 points, of which, you know, they only got the 1 kill when they had the 3 players. That was that 1-for-1 trade, and then they picked up 3 more. So again, just being active, making sure that they just weren't you know, kind of head down, eyes down. They were very much looking what was around them, what opportunities that they had, and then to still get some pretty decent placement points as well to boot. So those are the kind of games where you don't win and you're probably walking away thinking, man, if we had 4 players up, we could have got more. But the better way of thinking is, yeah, we really capitalized and got the most out of a bad situation. And that's what PUBG is about sometimes. You play 15 matches, guess what? 15 matches aren't going to be perfect. You're going to have some bad games. You're going to have a situation where someone doesn't connect. You're going to have all of these things that happen. It's the beauty of PUBG. And so naturally, when you can make the most out of those games, it's almost just as good as a win. That's 9 very valuable points when otherwise they could have got, you know, 2 or 3.
Yeah, and PUBG is going to be about consistency as well, right? Yes, you have a good first round, but you have to continue to be consistent in the following rounds as well. But same goes for teams on the other end as well. Teams like Zanshin, teams like Newbies, didn't really do too well in game number 1. But then again, game number 2 is going to be their chance to bounce back again. And they have to bounce back fast, considering that last week wasn't their week. So this week, they have to find their momentum again.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum is a big thing. I mean, you kind of look at week 1, right? And so then you come into week 2 and you think, well, is it going to be the same teams? Are we going to get different teams that finished well and take that form into week 2? And so far, it's maybe a mix of both. I mean, clearly, August and Vega want to really put a stamp of authority on this lobby and say, no, we're the top 2. And what a better way to do that than to come out in game 1, week 2, looking to defend their inadverted crowns from week 1. Vega getting the win, August having a good game, finishing second. And so that spells trouble for the rest of the lobby. If those two are going to continue to play deep late game scenarios, pick up the vast majority of the points more often than not, and if it's those two again towards the top after 2 weeks, then you're in a position where it's going to be very difficult to close that overall PMS point gap.
Yeah, and you don't want to leave that gap open to the end, right? And that will be a big problem for the teams that are in a deficit situation. Vega looks like they are back as a force. So hopefully we get to see a full team after this from Vega. I'll be excited to see how they will perform with a full team, because not only because of the first game with a 3-man squad, they are able to come up with the chicken dinner, but because of how they perform in week number 1 as well. They are a very exciting team to watch, and they are not shy from taking fights and taking good fights. So we'll see what they can come up with a full team here.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When you get the extra player in, it doesn't always mean that, they're going to be 10 times better. I've seen plenty of times where a team, and I've seen over many, many years now, teams win with 3 players. That's why I'm not sitting back saying, oh my God, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened. It does happen more often than you would actually think. And then, as you said, you sit back, you say, well, you get the extra player in, how much better you can do. But then sometimes you actually see them get the player in and they actually have a worse game. And so you just don't know really what to make of it. There's just too many factors at play. Moments away from getting into our second match of the day, which is going to keep the ball rolling. We head into Taego here for week 2, day 1, match 2.
Oh yeah, Taego is going to be really exciting as well. I wonder what kind of circle we're going to get. I do like if the circle goes up north for Taego, goes to the smaller island, or the smaller island within the overall map, the island where Godok is. That will be pretty nice as well, and it will be challenging for teams to start from the outside of the island trying to get in, just because of the choke points, the potential choke points, the bridges, and teams that might be gatekeeping them from coming in. We're going to begin with the flight path starting from Wolsong all the way down to Ohyang. So that will be a pretty balanced flight path, I must say, for all the teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty comfortable. There's nothing wrong with that one. I think that more often than not, especially in the modern era PUBG, plane paths aren't really that much of an issue unless it's really bad. It has to be 0.1% bad. Back in the old days, I would make the argument that it had a bit more of a say on the game, teams even having alternative drop locations based on certain plane paths. But these days, I don't think it's as much of an issue. Teams are so well scouted, they know exactly where all the vehicles are, they know how to get to wherever they need to get to based on most plane paths. So yeah, pretty comfortable one to kickstart here for Taego. Look at the leaderboard. Vega at top, 16 points from the opening game. Yeah, Alcatera, very good game from them as well. I thought they looked pretty good by the end of week 1. So one of those teams that taking a little bit of momentum and form coming into week 2, and evidently that's worked out well so far to start. August in 3rd, good game from them, solid. And they're going to be the kind of team where if they just keep getting, 10 to 12 points a game, yeah, they'll be towards the top once again. We saw that circle pop over towards the Northwest Island, and these are fun. These are scrappy. It is the nature of Tago. It's almost like 2 maps in one a lot of the times. Like you're only going to see Northwest Island or mainland. Very rarely do you get those kind of 50-50 circles between the two of them. You would think it would happen more often, but it probably doesn't happen as often as you would think. Usually you get just flat out, yeah, we're going to the Northwestern Island. That reduces the amount of space available and puts a lot of pressure on those bridges, on those positions to get to that island, because naturally there's only so many teams that land there in the first place.
And here's the man of the match from the first game. Is going to be empty here, coming in with 3 kills. And this was a fight that we kind of missed, which is the left side bridge of Jogo Pool, and they will play the gatekeeping role, and that's how they got their first elimination point before moving up to the high ground. So
yeah,
Vega, they started off by a little bit of a gatekeeping, gathering information while they're at it, and then they decided to move up north, playing as a trio. So that's a great adaptation to their gameplay earlier on. And now coming back into this game, now this is the circle that I really, really like. So it's going to be up north, and like what you said, choke points. There are teams that might play the gatekeeping role to stop teams from coming in. And most of the teams are actually on somewhat of a main peninsula, they always call it, and they all need to track up north. So it's going to be quite a challenge for all these other teams on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a fun circle because you've got the challenge of just getting to good positions. Getting to the island is number 1, then getting to a good position is number 2. But you've got a lot of good positions on the island. So it's not like a case of, having to rush over. You've got the main hill terrain positions that you can play. You've got a couple of cities, one in the middle, one towards the edges, depending on how the circle's going to shift. So there's more than enough space for a 16-team lobby to all spread out for a phase 1 circle, for instance. But that usually doesn't even happen. More often than not, you'll still see quite a couple of straggling teams come in late and push the bridges late and try and play edge. So they'll make that decision rather early, especially the teams that are towards the very southeast part of the map of Tago. Depending, of course, if they've got pickup. Can they just get pickup and then take their way over the whole map? You'll see many teams will do that. The downside of that is always then you lose your vehicles. So if you go early enough, which we did see at least one team go for it, which was Zen Esports. If you go early enough and then you kind of fan out towards the west and northwest part of the island, there'll be plenty of vehicles that you can then go and get, plus extra loot if needed.
And you can also play with the high ground if you rotate in early as well. And you want to secure all those prime positions. Looking at the current situation, it looks like Crazy Dog almost got one target of his own, but he came really, really close before he lost it. And I believe that was Xuan that actually went up north. But there are also other teams eyeing him. I can see on the minimap, he's being gunned down by some other team up north.
Let me just change the layout.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, another factor with the pickups too. When you kind of parachute down, you're always going to be susceptible. So that's another reason why you don't, if you're going to go late with the pickup, and there's already like 10 teams on the island, you're going to be in some strife. You're going to get shot down. And that's early on, right? This was a pickup landing at around the 5-minute mark, and you're already getting almost shot out of the sky, which was the case for Juan. Luckily, stays alive. We still have all 64 players in the server.
Teams,
Happy Squad, another team that's already on the northwest side, so they can just get a good position, little compound here, close by to their west. I think a team, again, that probably hasn't lived up to expectation based on the players that are on this squad. Just all about getting it all to click. One big game could certainly give them the platform to then build off and find momentum that they can then take forward for the rest of this event. This is where you don't want to be panicking. It's just match 2 of week 2, plenty of PUBG still to play. And so for them, it's just about backing in the quality that is on this team. Maybe you work on communication, and there's some strategy stuff that I'm sure you can certainly find a way to fix, because clearly they have got things that they do need to fix, but the quality is there that I think they can certainly turn it around.
And here's a team coming into the Northern Island, JSW. It looks like no team is going to stop them. no gatekeeping happening, and a lot of teams are actually focusing on to getting into the middle of the circle, which is okay, interesting. I thought that there would be teams playing the gatekeeping role at one of the bridges, but doesn't seem to be the case. Teams in this round so far, they aim to get the most of the high ground or prime positions. So they are kind of like throwing the dice to say that, okay, the circle will go up north, and let's see if that will happen. It'll be interesting if the circle actually goes all the way down south and they are all forced to move away from their high ground, and that's where we'll see all the chaos happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you naturally want to play the high ground to begin with first, and then if the circle shifts away and you do get that chaos that you're alluding to, well, then so be it, right? Like that, you just can't bank on those things happening or not happening. You just play to the strength that you can gain now. But that's why you don't want to put too much stock into phase one. You got to have your backup plans, and teams will do that. They'll have already started to assess where they'll go based on potential circle shifts. If it centers up, if it goes west, if it goes south, like they've already got their next plans in place, so they're not going to be totally surprised. By the way, Kang is in tonight, which is Frame It Mog. The boys, of course, with their funny names once again, except for Niku's. Hykaban and Rip. So no Akita tonight for Monk. Kang is in.
I just like Frame Mock's profile picture. I thought it's really cool. Like, okay, everyone's like,
he's Morgan.
Oh, the usual esports pose, and he's like, okay, I'll don a shade, I'll put in my headphones, and I'll be different from everyone else.
So we're watching Alcantara here. This is a good example. So the fact that there's usually a couple of teams that will come in late. They'll bring their vehicles. They won't pick up, either they didn't have it or don't want to use it because they want to play a different strategy. So they're essentially going to ride the wave, which is the blue wave as they come in, and then they're going to get to either one of the bridges or close to the bridges just as phase 2 starts. And then what that gives them is a bit of momentum to just keep on driving then based on that phase 2 circle pop information. So it may seem like, oh, they're coming in late, that's detrimental. It can be based on what phase 2 does, but sometimes it can turn into a positive thing. So they're just playing the circle as it's popped. And again, like for these guys knowing that, well, they loot towards the southeast of the circle. Well, pretty much actually they loot directly south. They kind of loot around Song Am. So they already will have played this how many times as a team on this map and seen this circle. They know full well what to do on this and how they like to play it. They'll be one of the last teams to come in. They'll rotate with the blue, and then they'll come in late and they'll see what phase 2 does and then play off of that information. So it's not like they're in a bad spot. You're never really in a bad spot unless you're underprepared. So it'll just be fun to see how that works. Now, where it can go wrong, bridge camps. You got a team like August that's kind of just in front of you. So what happens if they cross this bridge? They play around Yongcheon and they go for a bridge camp. Well, then that's where it can backfire. So that's where Alcantara is going to have to be really, really switched on here. And also if they've got backup plans in terms of how they want to rotate over. You could sit the blue if you want. There's only 18 seconds to go. You're not taking that much damage here in phase 1. See what phase 2 is going to bring. Fortunately, though, this is an easy scout for them because August have just rotated straight on through. They're not going to bridge camp, and they're going to wrap up towards the east. In fact, there's a train led by Monk. Then you got Unlucky. Then you got August, all wrapping around that eastern side, and perfect for them as they get a northern circle shift. That's exactly what you want if you're Monk and Unlucky going into a circle pop like that.
Wow, and if you're one of the early rotators into that high ground, you have a big, big advantage for taking that prime position. Now it's all about defending it because there will be more teams that want to take over that particular position. Coming to Alcantara, yes, no team is going to gatekeep them. They're going to move up to the northern island unchallenged. The next team is going to be Armor. Like, is there going to be a team that's going to stop them from coming in? I guess not as well. So all 16 teams will be in the island. This will be a brawl to which team is able to get that high ground.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to overinvest, but it's a really good position for this circle because of the high ground, but also there's not really much else to go for. You're going to play the trees, which is really good in TPP now in terms of defensive. You can just sit behind the tree, use your camera to scout out. It's cheese, but it's just where the game's at the moment. And so you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to want these sort of positions. which does mean you're going to get some fighting. So you're going to get some center circle fighting around phase 2, phase 3 more often than not. There's still actually good positions towards the east and the west of the circle for phase 2. Teams coming in late, it can certainly then backfill in. But then you've also got other teams that are just then centered into the city because there's not anywhere else to go. So the north side is a little bit more vacant, but the downside of that is then if it does shift back south, you're pushing uphill. If you're pushing uphill, you're at such a disadvantage to anyone peeking over, taking those fights, using the high ground. So it's going to be a bloodbath of a circle, I think, even maybe as early as phase 3, certainly by phase 4.
Yeah, with the fact that we still have 64 players alive at this stage and they're still rotating around, I believe that phase 3 or maybe even phase 4, we'll see a lot of fights back to back for sure, and it'll be really, really exciting by then. Or maybe it's good to start right now with Sync, trying to get one target of its own in one of the players of Okatera, and one of them seems to be caught behind that tree.
Yeah, Dip's in a bad spot here, but Zink can't be too eager to peek over and then lose his life. Landed some good tags. Unfortunately, though, Dip was able to get away. And he's going to just pull over and heal up. He's on 1 HP, doesn't want to go any further. Akasari got knocked as well by Bombay. So forget phase 3, forget phase 4. It's starting to kick off even a little bit into phase 2. 12.5 minutes, and now the lobby just trying to fight for space. Losing Akasari doesn't help Zanchin's ability to get aggressive here. There's a decent gap. You can't really get up close, so then you're prone to potentially being peaked by other teams. Unlucky just got absolutely cleaned up, apparently. I didn't even really get to see where that was. I think it was on the north side when they were rotating in behind Monk. Either way, they're just gone, apparently, from 4 to 0.
Yeah, that was just unlucky for them. Well, I guess next round it is. Zanchin doing well so far. Sly Fox is the one. Can potentially get another one, and there you go. Okatera, after a good first round, unfortunately this round eliminated by Zanchin, who was one of those teams who got eliminated early in the Rango match.
So center up, a little to the south, away from the water. Not really too much of a surprise, but what this does is creates this Death Valley. With this road splitting through the two mountainous terrains, at least the two predominant ones on the Northwest Island. And so you got Zen Esports in the middle of it. I don't know if that's really where you want to be, but if no one else makes their way there and they've got some good cover, they've got vehicles, they've got a safe location, it might actually bode well for them in the long run because there's not going to be any likelihood that they're going to get crashed. It's not a center compound. It's not super safe. So teams aren't naturally going to want to go there, which might limit the destruction on their position compared to what other center Death Valley positions might look like. So one to keep an eye on. The other thing is in terms of those two mountainous terrains on the left and right side of the Death Valley location is you're just going to get a lot of fighting, and it's looking like it'll be more of that eastern side around Alter Ego, Savage Men Esports, Zanchin, teams that eventually then are going to come out of GoDoc as well. But then you've got Monk, you've got August on the north side. They're most likely going to have to choose which side they want to go down. It's going to, even though it be a phase 3 circle, there's not too much space going into phase 4. So if you're not in a prior position now, you're definitely not going to get into one for phase 4.
Ooh, but look at the amount of teams on the southern side of the circle. We have ATO here, Happy Squad, and also Team Newbies. And Team Newbies, they're going to play the gatekeeping role. There's a chance that ATO and Happy Squad will need to move up north, and that's where Team Newbies will take advantage of the situation. But in preparation for that, so Happy Squad and ATO, they have to settle the score right here. Or maybe ATO just exit through the back, going up north from there. If they stay here, then they'll be locked in together with Happy Squad, and that's why Team Newbies might be the team that take the third-party advantage.
Yeah, potentially. And Team Newbies need to make sure that they don't get into another lull the way that they did week 1. They ended so nicely on the Sunday, especially for week 1, but the Friday and the Saturday kind of just left them too far behind the rest of the pack, and it cost them. Just don't want to see them go back into their shells and play passive PUBG, because when they looked a bit more expressive on the Sunday, they took a bit more gunfights, they looked a little bit more lively, and guess what? They got results. So they can't just go full passive mode. Yeah, not in a great spot right now, and you play to the game into the circle that is in front of you, but definitely don't want to see them once again kind of retreating or taking safe positions. Take some fights. Like, they've got some good gunners. 13 seconds till phase 4. The calm before the storm, well and truly, especially on which side this is going to go. If it centers up, like, you're just reducing space. If it goes one side, then one side's going to really miss out. North-east doesn't, north-south doesn't do a whole lot, but yeah, a little to the east. But what that does now is more than enough to those that are, sorry, a little to the west. Those on the east now, even though it's not a full shift to the west, they've lost so much of their terrain. That mountain becomes so much more unplayable now. There's not a lot of space. And so you got to make the decision. And this also probably goes into what the position of Zen Esports is in right now, is they might get crashed as teams make their way down that hill and wanting to take some more space down the hill rather than being able to maintain on top, which is exactly what Vega and Shadow Esport are about to fight for. Like, they're the only two teams towards that western side of the circle. So they could split it up if they want. One goes a little more towards the north, one goes to the little towards the south. There's space for both of them, but there's not anything else. Most of the fighting now for this phase 4 circle is going to be on this eastern side and the north side as well.
Yeah, and we have at least like, what, 4 teams here? And this fight is breaking out right now with Monk in a really, really tough position. I believe they only have like probably 1 player left at this moment. Yep, there's 2 players left, but they're being pinned down by at least 2 or 3 different teams, so it's going to be really difficult. Xeno takes a lot of damage, still able to win that fight, and now he has that space to heal up before anything else happens.
Yeah, quick reaction from Xeno to just turn around and get that spray down. Xiaofeng knocked down by High Command, who also got the kill on the show. And this is not going to be the only battle. Goes without saying. The south side as well is going to see a lot of heavy action. Vega and Shadow, by the way, split up, so they're not going to be fighting on that western side. Xiaofeng is going to get eliminated by Hiker, and newbies do get aggressed upon. They get wiped out by Happy Squad. No points in 2 games for Team Newbies after being the team that won the very last game of week 1. And I thought they were starting to make some inroads, but they've kind of just gone back to that lull that they were in for the majority of week 1. Quiet, passive, getting aggressed on. Teams taking fights to them not taking fights to other teams. This Monk also will get eliminated, as High Command did go down to Xeno, who had a pretty good couple of minutes just then. A couple of kills, got some heals, and in the end gets eliminated by Kamels. Shadow Esport pushed from western side up to the north side. Vega kind of maintained on that west side. Shadow Esports will benefit because they're starting to get some kills. So Vega will play the more quieter, safer position. Shadow will start to try and get some picks from their spot.
And Happy Squad really not letting go of ATO. But if we look at the minimap, Alter Ego sending Gmoy to scout to see if maybe Alter Ego can take advantage of the situation. But now the focus is on the Happy Squad trying to land those frags in. Monty receives a bit of damage and he'll need time and space to heal up, but ATO, they're still being pinned down though. We switch over to the northern side now, Savage Man Esports in action.
All right, Circle Pop, what's this one going to bring for us? Heavy stack on the north side, goes a little to the south, right on top of NRG. Lunlun just got naded by Akasare from Zanshin. And Savage Men Esports are a good fragging team. They can play the edge well, but they've lost 2. Lunlun, Savior down. And so Zhu and Upchan need to try and salvage things for X-Men, because these are the kind of games they can actually do quite well in. Take these fights. They're a really good fragging team, as evident from that shot. Upchan hits the headshot onto Slyfox. Zanshin are eliminated in 10. Top 8 on the cards for teams now on the bubble. Next team out, no placement points, and it might be Happy Squad. A 10 trip takes another nade. He's getting aggressed upon by ATO. They've got the 4 kills. Certainly a better performance than the first match, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a whole lot better. These nades just not connecting. He's kind of just throwing them down, split towards the middle, and he will get eliminated. Nade from Lobot will connect down to the 8 teams remaining here for match 2.
It was just a matter of time at that point. And now Zen Esports will need to deal with another team right in front of them. But looks like Oculus eliminated at number 8. Ooh, with 4 kills in this round. Not the best of performance for them, but then again, it's just a round, so they can still bounce back in the next one. Shadow Esports, Jack Z, right inside the circle, so the rest of his teammates can follow up. But here comes Zen Esports, going up against Savage Man Esports.
Oraculus wanted to try and go for the flash. Juan trying to cover, but he's low. So if he stands up, he's very vulnerable. Nade's going to bounce off the wall and hit his own teammate. Oh, that's just poor team communication. Yeah, Ken's went for the quick flush, and while he did get it, he then also caught the nade from his teammate, and Oracleus is now the only one left, and he gets absolutely swarmed on by Savior. SavageMen Esports into the top 6. Again, they've not had a top 4 finish outside of the win that they got. They're back at the start of week 1. And as it stands, they're tied first with Vega. Vega's still alive, 2 players. But it's not going to be a big game from them. And Orgla's out as well, just the 4 kills. Ends up being a pretty open lobby here for the likes of Alter Ego, Shadow, and NRG. Most importantly for Shadow, 6 kills, 4 up. This is a big game from them. Their decision on that western side of the circle, back on the phase 4 pop, instead of opting to take the fight with Vega, went more towards the north side, where it was a bit more open for them to third party, be the aggressors, and it has benefited perfectly.
I do like the fact that SavageMen Esports, they're still playing with the same philosophy of like, okay, let's go for kill points. And so far, managed to collect 6 of them with still 2 players in the game. So they're on track to coming back from the downfall of last week. But let's see where the circle will head this time. Will it go down south, or will it go north, or will it go somewhere in the middle? Looks like it's going to be somewhere in the middle. And NRG, they have the circle. They also have the compound to play with.
Yeah, it's a good compound as well. It's not that easy to crash, and teams probably don't have a breadth of vehicles either to kind of just go full swarm. And there's only 2 other teams that are actually 4 alive. One of them's Shadow, they're on the north side, so they're not crashing that compound. The other one's Alter Ego, more towards the east side, 2-2 split at the moment, taking space. They might have vehicles, they might be able to get over there, close the gap. But it's not something that needs to happen right now. They've got the road definitely that they can play. They're safe phase 6. They can hold the edge. They'll probably scout, gatekeep ATO. So right now for NRG, they're sitting pretty for easily guaranteed top 4 finish. Like, there's no world in which they don't make top 4 from here. They've got no kills, but they're getting some decent placement points.
And I believe that at some point the challenge will be for Alter Ego to cut across this road, since majority of the circle is on the left side of it. It's going to be quite a challenge for them, especially with the fact that ATO is still around the corner. But ATO, they need to move forward as well. 2 of their players still on the outside the circle. And NRG will be the one to try to stop them from coming in. In fact, one of the players currently down, although he managed to heal himself back up again. So it's going to be Polang and Kia that needs to find a way to get in. And it's not the easiest of situation for them to overcome.
Yeah, but for Alter Ego, so if you look at the minimap, they're playing this 2-2 split. So they've got the south side and the north side that they're looking at. So they know that Alter Ego is about to go down. Kia's the last one. But then also what's happening on the north side might end up being a third-party potential. And so the goal for them in terms of crossing this road, getting onto this left side, will be, what's the best avenue of that? Is it going to be a third-party crash where we think we can come out on top? Is it the safer position, maybe on the south side where it's a bit more quieter? They're going to have that information eventually when they make their move. So they're not in a bad spot at all. And NRG is not going to be pushing out of that compound, clearly playing this safe, playing this passively. They would even potentially allow an Alter Ego push on the south side if they don't opt for a north side push. So I'm not worried at all about Alter Ego. Plus they got 4 players up in a lobby that still has 3 solo individuals, as we watch one of them right now in London for SavageMen Esports. So close to a potential top 4 finish. And now 1 spot away as Kia will eventually go down for ATO. 10th spot on the leaderboard for them. And London doesn't acquire the top 4 finish. So still only 1 placing in the top 4 for SavageMen Esports, but still another good game. And I think they'd be more than happy. Averaging 10 points a game to start for week 2 is a wonderful position to be in.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But it could have been a very good nade for Lundun if his position was not compromised earlier on. But yeah, I guess like what you said, so far it's still pretty consistent for SavageMen Esports, and I look forward to the rest of the day from them. Now down to the top 4 teams here, and the circle will shift again. It goes towards the middle, and that means that NRG will need to leave the safe haven of their compound to come out, and they will take point in the middle of the circle.
Yeah, and so 3-1 split now for Alter Ego. Quinn will play anchor. The other three will then get aggressive. Quinn's just making sure that NRG aren't going to wrap in behind them. And then Quinn can then slowly push back up to the rest of the team or just continue to play that anchor position, get the information. Certainly has now spotted that NRG have pushed out of the compound, taken center position, prior position to try and get this win. That's the goal now for NRG. You committed this long. Sunk cost fallacy. You haven't got any kills. You played passive. Well, go for the prior position. Go for the win. You're going to get the 10 points from the chicken dinner. You probably pick up maybe a 3-kill win, but that's still 13 points. So that's going to be their goal now. Empties as the solo for Vega just will hide for as long as possible and hope that he ends up finishing second at best. He's certainly not going to win this game, but I say that and I got to be careful because funnier things have happened in PUBG.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen, right? So who knows? Who knows? Got to keep an eye on that. But we're keeping an eye on the Kamals as well. He's taking damage here. And he has to leave his position. But yeah, ain't happening. Too bad, too bad. I would have wanted to see that happen, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and this is now NRG's game to lose. Well, they'd have to throw it. Yeah, they even have a third-party chance. Alter Ego and Shadow on the north side of the circle are going to go battling. NRG will push over. They're getting aggressive the first time. This is actually really well played from NRG. Good example of just knowing when to get aggressive. You've been passive. You've played the compound. You've copped a couple of circle feeds. That's fine. But guess what? There's two other teams left. They're fighting. Push out. Get aggressive. We've already got a little hill that we can play off. And now it's just a battle for seconds. Setsuno and Jaxi trying to get that for Shadow Esport. Lovely knockdown onto Trick. Jaxi then won his battle against Samoy, and it leaves just two up each, 1-1. It will, though, be Shadow that go out in third place. Alter Ego will snatch second, and it is a 4 versus 1 now in favor for NRG, who are on the verge of picking up a 6-kill win. God XP and Crazy Dog going nuts in the third party, and they finally close it out. A solid game for NRG. You could sit back, you can say they got fed in the compound, they kept it rather safe. But at the end of the day, firstly, you got to get to that compound before everyone else. Now, they were a northwestern circle team. They landed at Go Dock, so they always were going to benefit from that circle, but they took a good compound early on, got a little lucky. No one crashed them. No one tried to fight them for it. And they just knew, though, timing-wise, when to push out, when to get aggressive. They waited to the last second until it was the best position for them to do so. And they then still accumulated 6 kills from that when there wasn't many left in the lobby.
And look at the joy of the players, right? The moment they scored that chicken dinner, they went like, but like what you said, right? Because of that compound, it was not the easiest compound for teams to crash in. And at some point, it's like, they might not have enough vehicles, even if they want to. And even if they had, like, there were so many other teams side by side with each other, they could not focus on the compound. They had to focus on the clearing their sites at some point. Even like Alter Ego had to do a 2-2 split, so obviously they were just trying to stop other teams from coming in and also clearing an entry point for themselves towards the later stages of the circle. So that compound was left untouched until like it was phase 8, I believe, when the circle started to go out of compound. That's where NRG started to make their move. So they just stayed quiet till that moment when they needed to move. They come out, they lock in the chicken dinner. Not the highest of eliminations, but hey, a chicken dinner is a chicken dinner at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen teams win with 1 kill. So, I mean, 6 is fine. And again, the goal of the game is to win, right? Like, you want to get the chicken dinner, you're going to do what you best you can. There could have been teams that tried to push their compound, just no one did. Literally, no one tried to push their compound, hence why they had 0 kills for the vast majority of it. They're a Godok team here on Tago. They get a northwestern circle. I mean, what more do you really want them to do? Push out into the edge and play unsafe PUBG for no reason. So they just played to the circle that was given to them, and they get the win largely because of it. You can't say that's not the case. If it had been a southeastern circle and they had to do mass rotates and play in uncomfortable positions, yeah, it would have been a very different game. But they get a little fortunate, but they make the most of it. Sometimes you can get given a bit of luck, but you've still got to make the most of it, and that's exactly what they did. And even the way that they ended this game was perfect. Took the space that was there, good scouting, good position, and in the end got the kills as well, and certainly deserved to win this game. And you kind of look at the other teams around there. I thought Shadow Esport had a really good game, just the way that they positioned and played, which gunfights to take. I thought that they capitalized upon third-party advantages. They had a really good game, really solid performance, and well, After 2 matches, again, I think what we saw at the end of week 1, Cloud, was that it's a pretty even lobby. It's anyone's games to win for the most of the time. Sure, there's always going to be a couple towards the very bottom end, but clearly there's no runaway after 2 games. Vega and August a little bit more quiet in that one compared to the first one, but both still performing quite well. Obviously, a much improved Savage Men Esports. I can't believe they finished 13th after week 1. You know, now they're averaging 10 points a game through the first 2. You have Orcatera that's performing quite well, NRG that pick up the win. It's a lobby that's really starting to take shape in the sense that there are so many teams that can perform on any given night, any given game. That makes it so difficult to predict, not just for us, but also those inside of the lobby.
Wow, another top 4 finish for Savage Men Esports here. Very, very consistent again. And of course, other than that...
Not top 4 in the game, though.
Yeah, top 4 points. Yeah, to be specific here. Thanks. Yeah, as long as your team logo comes up here, so top 4 teams consistently, you're generally good, right? I kind of was rooting for Shadow Esports to pull off something big early on because they did really well against Alter Ego. And they played as a duo against 4 players of Alter Ego. So by them taking out at least 2 from Alter Ego earlier, they kind of did NRG a favor with the fact that NRG, when the moment they needed to come in, it's like, oh, there's only 2 players left and there's 4 of us. So it was an easy win from there. So NRG, they kind of owe Shadow Esports one for this.
Yeah, I mean, look at the utility usage as well from Shadow Esports, like 19 smokes, 12 frags, like they're moving around, they're taking good fights, and they're using the utility. On the flip side for Savage Men Esports, where's the utility at? I mean, that is quite lacking considering that they're a team that likes to fight, they're out on the edge. I think that utility needs to be used a little bit more effectively, or just in general, I guess, looking at those numbers, if those are to be correct. So I think it really shows and speaks to the fragging power of Savage Men Esports. Like, just raw aim, raw mechanics are just next level. They're one of the best teams in this region when it comes to that department, but maybe there's other factors that they can certainly continue to get better at. As we look at the match leaderboard, NRG 18 points from the game, Shadow Esports 13, Alter Ego with 10, so they're the double-digit winners. Savage Men Esports with the 9. Again, vast majority of those coming from kills. That's their biggest thing. Xantia with 7 kills as well, all 7 of their points. Vega pick up 5, August pick up 5. You know, not big heavy games from those 2, but if that's going to be the minimum point for those 2 teams, where their worst games are still picking up 4 to 5 points, and they have the ability to go and pick up the big games where they're more than capable of, like, you know, 12 plus kill wins, they're going to be difficult to stop as we get the total leaderboard after 2 matches. August dropped down to 5th, Vegas still around 2nd. And if you kind of look at the leaderboard now after 2 games, it's too early to sort of pinpoint things. Teams, we still got 3 more games to go tonight alone, let alone plenty of games to go over the weekend. But for me, it's the fact that Vega and August already still in the top 5. Savage Men Esports returning to form. NRG, great start for them. Fast starters typically end quite well. Shadow Esports, I thought, had a really good week 1. They're bringing it again here. The lobby's not going to be handed to you. If you're newbies, if you're a Zen, Unlucky did start quite well last week and then dropped off massively. That form line's continued to start week 2. Happy Squad just can't get things to go. Armor's been a little bit invisible, to be honest. We haven't really seen them tonight. Game Start Win, another one like Unlucky that started well last week, haven't brought the form this week. So starting to get the storylines even just after 2 games. We only play 15 overall over the weekend, 5 each night. So you get pretty good storylines developing quickly.
Yeah, so hopefully Team Newbies is able to pick up the pace because they're still at 0 after 2 games. But we're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe with this break, they'll be able to reconcile themselves again. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We have more PUBG action coming up to you after this break.
But first backup has arrived coming in with the blue zone grenade. Might be able to flush them off of position as he goes in for the flank with this AUG. And just like that, he catches 1, looking for 2. Runs right into the smoke. He does not get to trick them for far too long, but he will just fool send it regardless. There we go. gets kill number 2, make it 3 as Orkless goes on a killing spree.
They find their sprint, there's gonna be none. Finds a sprint on Kamal. There's gonna be a kill point for themselves here. But so, well, it looks like Shadow Esports, they're not intending to move away from the current position. No, they want to secure the edge. It looks like they're gonna be running alongside with Team Newbie. A beautiful nade to get the 2 double knock at the same time. Whereas on the outside, it looks like VG putting the numbers on Team Monk and eliminating him from the competition. Tentry moves in aggressively.
Kill onto Unforgiven as well, as RZRZ gets rid of Elgin Bots. Paul Setsuna up by himself, gets the headshot onto Jing, and then the second onto Xiaofei, and then the third as well onto Sho. Well, Setsuna goes down fighting. Even as the solo, you can still have big impact.
Feels like it's great. Realigning it. Let's see how good is the second one.
But that was a
Happy
close one,
Squad
though.
being pushed forward. Looks like Happy Squad, they decided to not wait for the tail,
Oh.
but Alex
Oh.
with the mortar! The realignment was great, and now and throwing an absolute wrench to Monk's plan here.
Two not more kills for Shadow, even though they're down to the 2 players. They're pushing onto Upchen by himself. Gets one on the left side. He's going to get one on the right. He does. Monty and Elgin Bots both down. As Upchen on 30 health. Looking for the third, and he secures it onto Nan. He absolutely wipes out Happy Squad. That is a huge 3K from Upchen.
For me, it's very hard transitioning from FPP to TPP. We are still, adapting, learning the TPP. I think it's a different game now. We value team play more. I'm happy that we got Mad Dog. He gives us like a staple in the team. So in that part, he eases the gameplay.
I think playing 4 weeks of tournament relieves a lot of pressure since you can play more games, and overall the luck factor will be lessened, so it's good for the tournament itself.
For me, I think we're very confident. I stopped playing PUBG for 3 years and then came back. We went to TPP mode. Then early this year we started grinding. We started practicing more, and then I think that built up confidence. Even though I haven't played any tournament for a long time, but I trusted these guys to pull it off, and then I also trusted myself to go back and compete. I think we're very confident for the next 3 weeks. Although, yeah, there's a patch. The gameplay will be different a little bit, but we will try to adapt. I mean, we've been playing pubs, which is the new patch, for quite a while, so we sure be confident to go through the next 3 weeks. Thank you.
We just go chill and play together. Maybe just trust our teammates.
Yeah, I think we're very comfortable. I mean, we've been playing with each other since the PUBG tournaments, and then even from the start, me and CJ have been playing from the start to compete. We're also comfortable with each other since I know these guys can compete well. I mean, they can perform in tough situations. Especially me, I want to go back to playing LAN events like PGC or any other LAN events. Last year I watched, I think it was PNC, and I've seen CJ and Calbs. They competed for Philippines, and I just missed the LAN tournaments. I mean, the feelings of being in LAN tournaments, yeah. Thanks to our family who are supporting our friends. We are still orgless, so if anyone's looking for, we are open.
I'm thanking my friends and my family for supporting me and the team. I hope you guys still support us through the next 3 weeks.
Goodbye!
Goodbye!
Teams are starting to rise up here. Will we see a new winner for week number 2? Of course, this is still the starting day of the PUBG Master Series 2026 Phase 1, Week 2. My name is Sir Cloud together with Xenox. And what do you make of the first 2 games so far?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good games. We had some fun circles, which really kind of got the lobby going and certainly brought the entertainment. I think that, again, August Vega starting strong is a concern for the rest of the lobby after what they were able to do in week 1. Savage Men Esports clearly finding some of their best fragging power once again. Just got to still get those late game positions. Really want to see them get another chicken dinner to really stamp their aspirations on the lobby. NRG, good game, good fundamentals. So we're starting to really see the teams, and the longer the event goes on, you're going to really start to see more of a gap continue to separate unless teams pick up form seemingly out of nowhere. There's still time to kind of fix things. I'd say by the end of week 2, if you're not a team that has a decent amount of PMS points, it's going to be very difficult going into the last 2 weeks. So big opportunity coming into these next couple of games for at least tonight, then into tomorrow and Sunday to really get going, because there's already quite a lot of teams that have got their form starting to put a good stamp of authority on the lobby, and you've just got to try and join that train as quick as possible before it leaves the station.
Yep, and the team that just scored the chicken dinner is NRG. It's Gore and Tego, and they're currently at the top of the leaderboard, so doing so far so good for them. It had I would say they kind of adapted to the situation, right? Like when every other team went up north, tried to take the high ground, they took the road less taken, which is, okay, we play with the low ground, there's a compound, we'll take that compound, we'll stay quiet, we'll show up towards the end, and it worked out for them to get that chicken dinner. Shadow Esports, they came up close, but Alter Ego put a lot of pressure to them, and there was nothing much that they could do about the situation because NRG came up from behind and came up with a win towards the other 2 teams.
Yeah, and NRG is another team as well that didn't have a great week 1, same as Savage Men Esports. It took them 4 games to pick up their first points last week. So 2 games in, as you said, top of the leaderboard, already, 28 points. They only picked up 43 in the 15 matches from week 1. So already improving. And this is the thing. If you're a team that started, let's say like Armor Esports finished 8th, right? So absolute 50% mark from week 1. You can't just think it's going to be a natural climb up. You're going to have some teams below you that are going to perform better. One of those being Savage Men Esports, another one being NRG. And then there's the potential of other teams that were below you. Monk and Happy Squad are probably 2 other ones that I rate pretty highly. And then there's the teams that are above you too that are going to keep performing. So it's a very difficult lobby. You've got to be on your absolute A game. Again, we're not at the point of running out of chances or anything along those lines. It's still early days. It's only 2 games in. But you don't want to be left behind the pack by the end of tonight. That's the biggest thing. And PUBG plays so quickly. Like, we're already into match 3. It feels like we just started an hour ago, because it's basically true. Like, you only get so many opportunities to build that form into the weekend. You have a bad night tonight, that might affect the mental. You can't change as much going into tomorrow as you can maybe throughout from week to week. This is a big game coming into Rondo, I think, with the teams that haven't quite started as hotly, because if you have another poor game and those teams at the top have another really good game, suddenly you're looking at like a 30-40 point gap already. And while that's not unachievable to chase down, it gets really difficult really early.
Yeah, and you don't want to put yourself in that level of mental stress right towards the end. So it's always nice to have a good start, have that comfort, and also just keep the pace up throughout day 2, and then eventually day 3 will come, and that's where everything will wrap up again. But from what we learned in week number 1, comebacks are possible, and Oculus has shown that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there will be any other team that might creep up to the top teams right now.
So a plane path towards the south end here for Rondo. We kind of spoke about the plane paths at the start of Tago, and the first 2 games, the plane paths weren't that much of an effect. This one certainly can be. Rondo's a massive map, so you're never really going to get, I think, unless it's dead center, straight through the middle, it can be kind of difficult to get all of the map involved. But Rondo kind of plays smaller than it really looks once you get that phase 1 circle, because more often than not, there's so much playable terrain, even with this one having Jadina City on the eastern side and all that sort of water on the eastern side of the circle. There's just so much playable space. Rondo is just full of it. You've got compounds, you've got mountain terrain, you've got trees. it's probably one of the safer maps at times, just because of how large it plays with what's available to sort of play around. So teams aren't going to have an issue, and because of where this circle is, as based per the plane path, you may as well just cut 50% of this map out. Like, no one's really going to go past test track up north. There's no point. So the vast majority of the map might look big, but it plays a lot smaller than it really does.
That's a really good point there, especially with this kind of circle plus flight path plus the starting point of all these teams. Nobody's really at Jiaotin or Stadium onwards, so everybody's like on the bottom half of the map. So yeah, on practicality, it is smaller than it actually seems. Now, we also have to award the man of the match from the previous round. It's going to be Crazy Dog from NRG, coming in with 4 kills with 154 damage dealt. Not the highest of damage dealt, but then again, it's the 4 kills that brought the best value to the team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to give man of the match to someone on the winning team, Crazy Dog, you can't go past him picking up 4 of the 6 kills that they were able to acquire. So statistically, that's a large difference compared to the rest of the team. I personally, like, if I was giving man of the matches, I'd just really look at the individual and say, well, which individual performed the best? Because you've already got the winning team. I don't think the man of the match has to come from the winning team personally, but I guess there's always added value points if you do end up getting the chicken dinner and you pick up 4 kills. Yeah, it's hard to discredit too much. And obviously the lack of damage is just naturally going to be the way that they played that game. And the other thing as well is, like, for a team like NRG, like, they finished dead last after week 1. Like, for them to get a circle like that, play the compound, they played it safe, they played it smart, they pushed out at the right time. You can't really put anything past them. I know in the history of PUBG, teams cop flack sometimes for getting circle fed, but like, what do you want to do? You play enough matches, as Hiker can't complete the jump. You play enough matches, you're going to get fed at some point. It's just part of the game, and it's all about making the most of it. I've seen plenty of teams that get fed and do nothing with it and end up having a poor game, and other teams that get fed and make the most of it, and that's what NRG did. So credit to them. And now curious to see if it can continue, right? Because they did finish last in week 1, so clearly some work to do coming into week 2. They've started well. Can they keep that momentum up? Like, that's going to be the biggest thing for them, for Shadow, for Savage Men, for Orcatera, all those teams, except for Auglis and Vega, who proved last week they have the capability of being consistent for 15 matches. The other teams now here for week 2 need to prove that they've got the ability to do the same.
I'm curious to see if Zen Esports can actually step out the game. We were shown the stats a little bit earlier and had a good look at it, and all the players seem to have somewhat similar amount of stats, whether it's damage output or whether it's kills. So none of them are really like, okay, carrying the team. So it just shows that it's a total team that needs to be that needs improvement here for Zen Esports. They didn't do too well in week number 1. They were somewhere at the end of the overall charts as well. And now starting after 2 games, yeah, 2 points, and there's still plenty of games to go. But again, you don't want to be in a situation where you need to catch up to the many teams above you. Vega Esports obviously is one of those teams that we want to see how they're going to perform as well and whether they can remain consistent. And so far, so good for them, getting in 21 points after 2 games. And in one of those rounds, they played with 3 players and still able to come up with a chicken dinner. So they are still showing that they are one of those teams to keep an eye on.
Vegas numbers there and the way that they've been playing so far, 2 matches in, I think they'd be more than happy. I think always that's another thing too. We don't talk enough about the teams that were in a winning position for a decent amount of time, which was Vega week 1, and then they just on the last day it gets flipped and they drop down a second, which happens, but you've got to mentally sort of relock back in. The beauty of this event overall is that you have the ability to reset. You still locked in those 80 PMS points. You're only 20 behind Auglis, so you can make that up by just winning week 2 anyway. And then also by having such a decent head start on everyone else, it relieves any kind of pressure. But I'm sure they would have been quite disappointed that they couldn't get the job done, finished first in the end, 5 points short of Auglis, which had a very good final night to leapfrog into first place. But for Vega, they've started really well for mine, because it's very easy to come into week 2 and maybe just not have quite the same form that you had week 1. Was it a flash in the pan? Did you play your best PUBG early on and then you still fell to second, and now you're mentally a little bit shot from that? But they've responded really nicely, and it just goes to show that they're going to be a very difficult team in this lobby.
And Happy Squad is also another team that we know their potential. Looking at their players, the OG players, they're very experienced, but so far haven't had the best start as well. Only 4 points.
There you go.
This could be their opportunity though against Vega, but now Arjun Bots, he exposed his position. It looks like they decided to not take on this fight.
Yeah, I mean, probably wise, to be honest. I mean, it's not a bad spot in the circle to fight, just a little bit north of center. It's well and truly within the phase 1 circle, so if you did want to fight, you can. You just make the best choice, though. Is this a fight you really need to take right now? It's not a compound that you want. You're not aggressing it. They're kind of just driving on by. You can just rotate up to the compound on the hill. I mean, it's just really smart decision-making. I mean, you kind of stick around, and what we saw there from Aldrin Bots was, can I get a freebie? Can I get a knock? And then can I get the flush? And then from there, maybe we get aggressive. Doesn't happen. They just back off. They don't try and double down. They don't try and get overly aggressive and do silly things. There's Monk now also passing by Vega, but this should just be a continual rotate unless something happens. Did notice Niku's is no longer in a vehicle. He's going to get picked up, though, by Kang, although they've just lost one, unfortunately, in Rip, who's... I don't actually know what happened because he did get knocked out by someone. Unless he got tagged up really low and then hit the rock and then it's just done enough to eject him. I'm not too sure, but he is eliminated. Empty will collect the kill. Second death of match number 3, and not ideal for Monk, who just can't seem to get any luck right now. I mean, at least from the games that I watched on Sunday to start right now, you know, I play with a PC issue. We haven't really seen them all 4 up, taking good gunfights and kind of flexing on the lobby. Good players, but it's just not quite working as we see Alter Ego aggressing onto Lobo, who's just sitting in the garage inside of the smoke. He's the only one here for ATO, so it feels like it's just a matter of time before Alter Ego flush him out.
And G1's ready with the Panzer. Okay, and he's behind the smoke. Okay, this is going to be the last corner that he's going to check. Okay, he definitely knows that. Oh, man. Really, G1? Really? Well, at least he got Loba, so I guess objective done.
Yeah, a little explosion, a little bit of soul fire with the Panzerfaust. But job done. Yeah, we'll get the flush kill onto Loba for Alter Ego. Yeah, I mean, the blue here that they're going to be in, again, it's phase 1, not going to do a lot of damage. They're more than 5 man with the glider. You can go get some information. So he's just spotting ATO rotating past, which is kind of funny. They're down to 3 now, courtesy of Alter Ego, getting rid of Loba. And yeah, rough one for Monk. Just one of those kind of games where you just lose a couple on the rotate. Just an unlucky rotational path choice for them. Cost them 1, and then from that 1, it trickles to a second. It's like the domino effect where 1 dies on the rotate, you all kind of stop. Niku's got dropped out of the car, and they're just going to get eliminated. Just a rough one for Monk. Again, you play enough matches in PUBG for a reason. You can have an unlucky game. Someone dies on a rotate, 10 minutes into the game. Just a bad rotate path into a team that was just sharp, hit good shots, knocked you out of vehicles. These matches happen. You've got to minimize those to maybe 1 or 2 throughout a 15-match weekend, but they do happen every now and then. For Monk, it's just all about getting back on the horse in the next match of Miramar.
Yeah, with the fact that they want the quickest in rotation, so they have to expect there will be teams waiting for them and all that. And yeah, unfortunate situation for Monk though. Out without any points at all this round. Giving away points to the other teams. But then again, right now 12 points in the middle of the overall chart is not the end of the world. There's still plenty of games to play, so it's all about picking themselves up in the next round, like what you said. As for the other teams here, GSW also in the position that they need to climb up significantly, only 6 points. Unlucky, had an unlucky round the previous round, but unlucky for Goni this time. TD got him.
Bevan picks up a knock for unlucky towards the bottom 3 at the moment. I think a team that could get going, they obviously showed enough on week 1. Whereas for Team Newbies and Zen, both in the bottom 3 from week 1, slow start again. You just don't want to lock yourself in those kind of positions coming into week 2. game start win, a team that did start well week 1 and hasn't probably got going just yet in the first 2 games. PB eliminated by Snipe Paul, and Team Newbies will be on the board. Their first points acquired. Upchen, though, just got baited out into the open. Fevin gets the clean kill. So Savage Men Esports down to 2 players, and this is what can happen with the aggressive play styles. You know, Upchen just gets a little bit lured into that kind of push in. Wanted to be aggressive on the defense, really, as Lunlun's got a much better angle to get the knockdown onto Sunny side up. He's also getting tagged and is the only one remaining for Savage Men Esports. Unlucky do get eliminated, and Lunlun and Upchen will pick up some points. At the very least, at minimum for Savage Men Esports, 2 kills collected. So it's not going to be a donut game, but it's certainly not going to be a big game either for them. And a fair chance by the end of Rondo that they will maybe be out of the top 4 on the leaderboard. And it's where it can go horribly wrong. You know, if you're a team that predominantly does well in terms of getting to late game scenarios, getting good placement points, these games just don't happen. But what you see with the teams who are good at getting kills, getting a high amount of kills, but not making top 8s and top 4s, these games also happen. And so then that is where your variance comes from. You're not going to get 10, 11 kills every time, but going out in 10th, it just isn't going to be possible. And so for Savage Men Esports, it worked in one game. It's not going to work in this one.
And RJ Boss will pick up that kill point, take it off Xavier. So unfortunate for London, now he needs to play safe for the rest of the round, considering that he's the final player. But for him to start collecting placement points, there's still a lot of teams that needs to be eliminated. So he really, really has to pray hard here that teams just don't come at him. But as a matter of fact, that Happy Squad is actually rushing towards his position. So London has to prepare for this one.
It's raining too heavy.
I'm not sure of his odds of surviving this though.
I thought first there will be a power cut. That's going to
Circle pop
happen.
coming for phase 3 really, really quickly. This one going by in a bit of a hurry. Yeah, for Lunlun, not much he can really do. Needed a bit of circle luck, but doesn't go the way of Tu Ling. As we get the phase 3 circle pop,
4
it
minutes.
is going to
3
be
or 4
over
minutes or
towards
5
the
minutes.
western side of the
But
circle,
this
right on
was
top of
too
NRG
strong.
and GameStart win. So those two are going to
Lightning
benefit
storm,
quite nicely
everything.
from the circle pop for phase 3. Certainly for NRG off the back of the win in game number 2. Zanshin as well on the north side of that circle. Good opportunity presents for them. Alter Ego, cop at the worst over on the far eastern side. Same with Shadow, actually, driving through Jadina City. So they're going to be coming in quite late for those 2 teams.
London, I'm pretty sure they know that he's in this warehouse though. Yeah, they're circling around. They want to try to surround him. But while that's happening, let's check out what's happening here with Slyfox. Showing his position, and he's all alone and his teammates are all well spread out. So he needs backup soon because Oculus, they are coming in towards his position.
Yeah, August have just kind of come in here at the right time to catch Zanshin before they could get set. Zanshin wanted to take this space, set up nicely towards the northwestern part of this circle, and August have just kind of tried to beat them to the punch, but it has backfired. RZ gets the knock, and then it's finished off by Faith for NRG. They'll pick up a nice early kill point. And for August, not ideal. They didn't do anything wrong. They wanted to take good space on the north side. Jaxi here now has a great opportunity for the double kill. Caught in the back will be Aimbot and AJ. Jaxi just catches them by surprise. So one top team in August, then the second in Vega, both copping it here at the 15-minute mark of match 3. It's Tede that's just fighting at the rock, trying to avoid these frag grenades. One gets absolutely soaked up by that rock. Tede dancing very nicely. One at his feet, though, and he goes down. Empty. He's the only one that's left down for Vega Esports over in the blue. Bad position for him. Not going to be able to help out his team. Those 3 should be down. It should just be empty. Vega do have the 4 kills. And again, I said this before, Cloud. The Vega and August, they have the ability to get the 4-5 points even in their bad games. And so for Vega, they've done it again. Not a great game for them to be down to 1 player already at the 15-minute mark. But they've already gotten 4 kills. So they've already gotten something from this game at least.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's important not to go out with a donut, right? And with that 1 player, I don't think he'll be able to save his teammates, so we can take it as Vega will have 1 player towards the end of this round. As for the other teams, Alter Ego on screen, looks like they're going to play the gatekeeping role here, but they can still finish up the job, securing those points for themselves, taking out the remaining few members of Vega. And they also have Shadow Esports on their side, but Shadow Esports all the way up north, so I don't think that's going to be a team that they want to put focus on.
Phase 4 coming our way. This might benefit game start win, and it does. They keep their compound in, and also to the benefit of NRG. I mean, this is another really good circle for NRG and gives them a higher statistical chance of going for back-to-back chicken dinners. And probably the game that game start win really needed as well. Just to get things going. A little bit of a slow start in the first few matches as Tantrip can't land the shots with the Mark 12. That distance is always going to make the shots very difficult. He did land one there onto the minibus. That's getting him down to half health. That's some decent shooting from Tantrip. Happy Squad have got decisions that they're going to make on the north side. Dusky goes down. Another poor game for Armor. So just 5 points through the opening 3 matches. They've been very quiet. Haven't been able to make an impact on this lobby just yet. NRG trying to see if they can catch those on the rotate going past, but they're also denying a lot of space. So they're kind of centered on the north side of the circle, and then they've got Crazy Dog that's kind of the anchor behind to make sure no one's coming out of the blue or wrapping from the south up the west side. They're controlling a lot of space in this circle, whereas GameStart Win control the compound. So 2 teams in great positions for different reasons. That nade is just perfect from Nan. Little bit of help on the roll down from the other side of the hill. Gets the knock on to Queen, and then that one will finish the job as well. So that's a big kill from Nan for Happy Squad. They go to 5 kills, 3 players up, making the most of a tricky game. They're doing quite well in this circumstance.
Oh, but Empty is rotating behind though. Now Alter Ego shift their attention towards Empty. Just gotta keep an eye on him, and that's gonna be a trick. Eliminate him. Vega Esports out at number 12. So they will lock in this round with only 4 kill points, and that's about it. Checking into the middle of the circle, we have GSW here. And Orkless seems to be interested to try to take over their position.
Yeah, I mean, Orkless though, down to 3, so they can win this fight against GameStart Win if they want, but I think they're a bit more apprehensive about pushing into this compound due to the fact that they're down a player. So they'll probably want to more so share the space, if anything. A double knockdown frag grenade, by the way, in the kill feed from Bombay onto ATO for Orkatera. That's a nice little collect with the frag. Team Newbies coming in from the eastern side. That fight, by the way, between ATO and Orkatera on the south side of the circle, and it seems like it is going only one way, as Gomps and Bo Lang will be eliminated. Setsuna goes down for Shadow Esport finally, so they're eliminated too. Quiet game from them besides the 5 kills. They're not going to feature towards the end of this game as ATO moves out to Orkatera. They go to 3 kills. And just starting to climb back up that leaderboard after a really strong start on Erangel. They find their place again here on Rondo. Circle Pop coming up, phase 5 very shortly. Orgless did infiltrate with GameStart Win, but they'll be happy neighbors as things stand. Sly Fox eliminating Monty, so Happy Squad lose another member. Sly Fox knocked by Alec, and that's another circle shift out towards the western zone. Perfect for NRG. Orgless and GameStart Win happy too. They get to keep this compound a little longer, but NRG are controlling a large portion of the end of this game. They have a really good chance of going for back-to-back wins.
Oh, but it's going to be a tough one for Zen Esports though. Look at this. Right in front of them, 2 teams waiting. And there's also a couple of teams behind them as well. So wherever they rotate, there will be teams. So they have no choice but to take fights. But speaking about taking fights, Alter Ego right now in a fight with Happy Squad. And they managed to eliminate 2 players from Happy Squad, taking them out at number 9 without any place on points.
Yeah, I mean, they do pick up the 5 kills, so something from the game. Got more than double their points from this game than they did in the opening 2. So sometimes little baby steps are better than no steps for Happy Squad. But you can already kind of see the little gap for the teams that are 10th to 16th, like not double digits after 3 games versus those that are starting to reach the 30-point mark, such as NRG, into the final 8 teams now as well. So placement points, of course, will be distributed as Nam Zhao eliminated by Jing. As GameStart winning a good spot. Unfortunately for Translucent, Half is just on the other side of that hill for Orkatera. He got the down. They did lose one as well. Juan getting into the action too for Zen Esports. And then you got Alter Ego that may elect a third party this, but to be honest, a minute and a half till phase 6, better off just focusing for the circle rather than pushing into this fight. So they're going to go into the compound of Orgless and GameStart Win. This is going to be another game, by the way, where no one has gone the way of NRG. And when we get the map feed that shows up once again, every single team is basically in that minimap except for NRG. NRG is the only team not in this minimap right now.
Oh yeah, that's a good point there. NRG, they're actually on the northern side, so they're going to avoid all these fights. They're going to play the same way as they played in the previous round. It's like, okay, we'll stay cool, stay chill, we'll show up at the later stages of the game, let these teams cancel out each other. Team Newbies now coming in, but unfortunately, the moment they show up on our screens, they got eliminated at number 8. But a bit of an improvement for Team Newbies here, though they're still at the bottom, but like what you said, right? Baby steps are better than no steps.
Yeah, I mean, off 0 points, so you got your first points, a better game, get into the top 8, little things that you can then look to and say, well, we're doing a bit better. Let's take that form into the next game of Miramar. Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating. It's not a guarantee win for NRG, but they're absolutely now the most likely team. As I said, there's no one on this north side. There's a fair chance that when they have to fight next, it'll be 3 or 4 teams left. Here's the circle pop, as you can evidently see. So they control that entire northern side of the circle. Everyone else has gone around the compounds. Now, Dip's going for a rotate around. Might just offer a point for Alcatraz if they want to fall back, pending this phase 6 circle shift, rather than taking the fight at the compound. They might then try and go towards the way. And now they should call it. Like, everyone should be just going to Dip. Like, go to that compound. It's in the circle. Fall off from this. If they want to stay, you stay in the safe position where you're gatekeeping those trying to come out of this compound, which is no longer in the circle. That's fine. But I'd still just pull everyone back. There's 6 teams alive. There's a fair chance if you go to that compound, you finish in top 2, top 3, and you'll still get kills as these teams eventually have to leave the compound, go out into the open fields, back into the phase 6 circle.
Man, this circle just hates teams. Like, it went away from everyone else, except for Dip, who made that early move into the circle. At least he's a marker for his teammates and they can follow up onto him. But for the rest of them, they pretty much have no choice but to just fight till the end here.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a choice. I mean, Akasare, he's the solo for Zanshin, so he's just trying to keep a low profile. Orclus are kind of stuck here. They can't really just go and push into the circle. It's too out in the open. They'll just be walking into NRG. You're probably, at this point, better to actually fight it out and try and pick up kills and be the team that sort of wins from this compound position. And smart move now, Orcatera just now starting to bring it back over to that compound that Dip was able to acquire. So a smart rotate from him and from that team to just find a different path forward in this game. And now it just comes down to who can win these fights and come out of this the best scenario possible, which is picking up the majority of the kills and being in the top 4.
Oh, and we can see teams struggling to actually go in when the zone is starting to close in onto all of them. Look at the kill feed right now. It's running wild. Ma'an because the next player to be eliminated. But before that, they managed to take out Oculus. Oculus is out at number 6. Okay, that's going to be an interesting shift there. And Alter Ego now 11 kills in the back. And they still have the opportunity to collect more with the fact that there are still teams around them.
Yeah, maybe not though, because everyone else has actually started to rotate, then straight into the arms of faith for the solo Bakasari. Zeno with a knock on to Dip. GameStart win, by the way, have pushed straight into the compound that Orcatera went and took, and then Zhao and Zeno combine on to Dip, so they're down to 2 players now, Orcatera. GameStart win have kind of flipped the script. They've got 4 players up. Now they've got to take the fight at the compound. This will be intriguing for NRG because they did lose 1, so they're down to 3 players. So they want to obviously control space, but now there's a chance that GameStart win could come out with 4 players up because they just cleaned house as Orcatera are out in 4th. 3 teams remain. The duo for Alter Ego, of course, out in that eastern part of this circle, out in the open, just trying to play the vehicle, play the rock, be defensive. They're not going to be the aggressor in this situation. But for NRG, very split, very open field. How do you even close that gap? Well, you don't. It's phase 6. This is where for NRG, you have to try and force GameStart win to have to evacuate that compound based on the next circle shift, which is very likely, unless it's the hardest of south shifts possible. They will eventually have to leave this compound. It's not going to finish there, and bam, phase 7, perfect. Crazy Dog, a little bit more of that forward front man. He can try and get some damage in as they first leave. Then you got Faith and Turtle that will play for when they get closer towards center if they go for that, which is very difficult. This is a bad circle for GameStart win, but they got 4 players up. They've got vehicles. The decision making here has to be perfect.
Oh man, and they have about 35 more seconds to decide before the zone starts to close in onto them. And again, NRG having the circle advantage. This is again their game to lose unless Alter Ego can poke them from the side, distracting them, and that will open up the space for GSW to move into the circle and take them from the other side as well. So we'll see if all that happens, because it's going to be a big domino effect if it does. And both of that scenario will need to happen at the same time for teams like GSW or maybe even Alter Ego to be able to get in the circle?
I don't think it's anyone's games to lose, but I actually think all three teams, it's their game to win, provided they make the right decisions and some things go their way. You know, if GameStart win, go into, well, we'll go Alter Ego. Well, they go in first. They want to take the rock, most likely back this vehicle up. No, it's a little bit apprehensive as to their positioning because they're in the middle. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be now swarmed on by GSW. So they made the first move, Alter Ego, and then GSW play off of that, and the domino effect starts to fall. This favors NRG because you want these two teams fighting and you have an open field. Game start, win, lose two, and Alter Ego's duo have done a tremendous job so far. This is where for NRG, you need to start to push in, try and corral, try and get around these two teams as much as possible so that for Alter Ego or GameStart win, whoever wins this fight, don't still have two players up by the end of it. But fair play to Alter Ego. They made the first move. The response came from GSW, and Alter Ego were ready for that response. So they got the two knocks, and now it's a 2v2v4.
Yeah, now NRG, they're just waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, right? And they do have the man advantage against the other two teams, but they want the domino effect to continue on. It's kind of chilled out a bit. And teams are definitely waiting for phase number 8 now, with the fact that all of them are already in the circle. But it will allow a bit of space for Alter Ego to reset themselves as well as they're currently doing. Let's see where the circle will go. It'll most likely go to the middle. And if it even goes to the middle, NRG, they still have that advantage. There you go. NRG players in the circle, but none from Alter Ego or GSW in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge circle shift now. So for Faith's position, he just doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to give an opportunity where he gets knocked either. He needs to play ultra defensive and then let Turtle and Crazy Dog be the ones to try and find these kills. And Turtle does hit the headshot onto Samoy. So instant down. And Crazy Dog just pushing a little bit more to the south to get an eye on GSW. Xeno actually now thinking about making this push for game start win. Shows over towards the blue. Xeno knocked and quickly killed by Trick. I don't think those flashes really landed. I think they were thrown a little bit too far over. So he gives his life away. It's a 13th kill now for Alter Ego. They got a 29 points. I would say really good game as well for game start win, considering that after the first two matches, they were towards the lower end of the leaderboard, now back up towards the middle of the pack. But it's big for NRG. They only had 43 points from week 1. They're on 38 already and can still gain more at the end here of match 3. 50 seconds until we head into the final circle, and all that will do is just benefit NRG. I mean, it shows we're not at the point in the tournament where you want to be dying to the blue, but he may just feel like he's literally got no other choice but to just pass this one over and say, well, at least I won't give the kill point to a potential competitor. He goes down 3rd place for game start win, and it's down to a 2v3 as Alter Ego's Trick and Savoy using all their experience to try and get themselves out of a tricky position. But NRG now group up. They'll play together, strength in numbers. Even if there's someone out in the open, they've got Doritos that they can play behind, and they've got vehicles. So this is very difficult for Alter Ego.
Yeah, and looks like NRG won't allow Alter Ego to try to deny away the points. They could, but of course, NRG, they want to collect those points. Let's see here, Trick goes down, and I'm not too sure if NRG got those points, but what I'm sure is that they scored another chicken dinner for themselves, so it's 2 in a row. Look at that.
2 in a row.
God XD, he's like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm slapping myself. Like, wake me up. 2 chicken dinners in a row, really?
Wow, again they win.
Yeah, I mean, really well deserved as well for NRG. Again, you can't help but say, did they get a bit of fortune with the circle shifts? Sure, certainly not the case, as much of a case as game 1. They had to do a bit more work. But yeah, back-to-back chicken dinners, great for NRG. Again, they only picked up... It's mind-boggling to me that they only picked up 43 points through 15 matches in week 1, and only a couple of days go by in the week, and suddenly they've already reached that figure in 3 matches. It's a huge turnaround for NRG. Very happy for these guys because it's a classic case example of going from last to first in the span of a week, and it's a good showcase to the entire lobby as to what you can do. Get a bit of fortune, make the most of your luck, execute perfectly, and you can turn your fortunes around. So really happy for them for what was a very fun game of Rondo as we go to the highlights here for match 3.
Yeah, and they're also sending a message towards Vega and Oculus that, hey, you two are not the only teams in this lobby that's capable of topping the chart, right? Like now we are able to as well. So great here for NRG. And the formula that they used to get this chicken dinner in this round is similar to the one before. It's like, okay, let's not go to the danger zone. Let's not go to where everyone is. Let's stay away and we'll show up towards the later stages. It's just that the difference this time is that, okay, they don't park themselves in the compound early on. Not that there are many options to park themselves in this in the compound in this kind of circle, but the point here is that they avoid early fights and they only show up like what? Phase 5 or 6, and that's when all the teams are forced to go into the circle, and all they needed to do is just wait for teams to come towards them and pick up those elimination points.
Yeah, I mean, again, so the way that NRG's kind of path into this circle was sort of just a western side push, and then the circle opted to go to the west side of things, right? So yeah, a little bit of fortune with that, but you can't take anything away from them at all.
Yeah, not at all, not at all. Maybe they saw like, oh, from afar, it's like, okay, that compound has like what, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. Majority of them were there. It's like, okay, we don't want to have any part of that. Okay, it's just too much for us to handle. So it's a good decision. Yes, there was a bit of luck involved there. Imagine if the scenario was different, right? Like the circle moved towards the right side compound. They could still like slowly sneak up to it, and they can still avoid those fights, let them cancel each other, and they can come in later as well. So I think the decision was still really good for NRG to just stay away from the commotion.
Yeah, and there certainly was a lot of commotion as well in that game of Rondos. We go to the top 4 teams, and despite the win for NRG, Alter Ego walk away with the most points due to the fact they got second with 13 kills. So huge performance from Alter Ego. And they were one of those teams as well, Cloud, that were fighting at the compound and somehow walked out with 2 players alive. Really good push to the rock, and game start making their way over, and that points to 4v2. They get 2 quick knocks, make it a 2v2, and do a really, really solid job. I think it was Samoy and Trick. So really good skill from those two to get the maximum amount of points really from that game. I think for Alter Ego, there were not really going to be a chance of getting that chicken dinner. Game start win better as well from them after 2 quiet starts, and Orcatera back in a good position as well after a solid airing goal to start the night. So 19 points for Alter Ego, 15 for NRG, and 12 for GSW. Very top heavy match 3 in terms of the points. I mean, there's a bit of spread, but after Terra in 4th, it's 6 and below. It's not a lot of points gained. Vega picked up the 4 points. Auglis just the 2 points. So a bit of a quieter one for Auglis. Didn't even pick up a single kill. Of course, they were at the compound, but they were really in the center of it. Not in really a good spot. A lot of teams surrounding them. A tough one for Monk. They died really early on in the rotation. Just kind of one of those go next games, if you will. Armor continuing to be very, very quiet through the first 3 matches. Haven't seen them have a moment or, put together a solid 10-15 minutes where they can pick up a decent amount of points, which is why, as we see on the total leaderboard, they're in the bottom 2 at the moment. Team Newbies picked up their first points from 0 to 4, so something of a positive for them. But as things stand right now, NRG matching the total points that they acquired in week 1, all of week 1, in 3 games.
Oh, that is significant improvement there by NRG. So really happy for them. And if you look at the stats as well, like their placement points are way above anywhere else. And that's obviously because they scored the 2 chicken dinners, but it's also because of their play style of just not getting themselves involved in unnecessary fights or fights that will leave them caught in situations that they cannot escape. So very
but look at the kills
strategy for them.
They got the same amount of kills as Savage Man Esports, but they got 21 more placement points. So this is the thing, is like, because of their play style, again, playing well to the circle shifts that are happening, putting themselves in the right positions, not getting active until the late game. If you do that more often than not, you're going to end up getting those 6 to 8 kill games, and they just stack up nicely. Whereas for Savage Man Esports, you start tonight hot, 11 kills, no placement points, but 11 kills. Then in that game of Rondos, you could clearly see it didn't work. They got into that early fight, didn't go their way, and you walk away with barely anything. So your variance is much higher if you're a kill-happy team versus a team that plays late game, likes to play it safe, take fights that are there to be won, not so much a 50-50 or a scrap fight, or we're forced into this fight, or we're forcing the issue. So the benefit has clearly been there for NRG and their play style so far tonight.
And we got to be aware of the other teams as well that have been stepping up the game. Like Alter Ego have been really stepping up. It's been consistent in the past few rounds too. If you remember, like the round in Tego, they got a second or third place finish, which was pretty good as well. And then now another good finish as well. So Alter Ego is starting to be one of those teams that, yeah, we might not have talked about them that much just because the spotlight is on NRG, but we got to keep an eye on them. They could be the team to beat next.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make a case for quite a few teams in this lobby, to be honest, where for NRG, I still hold trepidation simply because of what happened in week 1. So we have to, this is where you get more answers, and maybe there's more questions than answers right now, especially with the way that NRG is performing. Was week 1 the one-off week where it just went horribly wrong for them, and week 2's more of what we should expect from them? Or is it week 1 is what we should really be expecting from them, and week 2 is not a fluke, but maybe they're just having a crazy night and it's all just working into place, and it's not going to be that way into tomorrow, into Sunday, into next week, etc. We obviously need more games to get a bigger sample size, but right now they're just Jekyll and Hyde from week 1 to week 2, which makes it difficult to kind of ascertain which one really are they. Are they more akin to their week 1 performance, or are they more akin to the way they've started tonight through the first 3 games? Whereas for Vega and August, a little bit more known quantity about them. Even the likes of Shadow Esports, for example, as we get into Miramar, match 4 already. Only one more game after this as well tonight, Cloud, so it goes by pretty quickly in terms of these individual nights. It's been NRG's night so far, that's for sure. Perfect start here for day 1 of week 2. They've gotten off to an absolute heater. 43 points already through the opening 3 matches, back-to-back wins, and 4th place, if you recall, back on Erangel with 6 kills. So they've been pretty much perfect through the opening 3 games. Can they keep it up going into Miramar?
And Miramar, of course, is going to be the Dusty Dunes here. And my, oh my, can't believe we're already at the 4th game. I'm so used to like, okay, 6 games a day. And now with this format, it's like, okay, 5 games a day. Okay, games just zoom past by. I mean, even if we on the casting desk, we feel that way. Imagine the players themselves, they'll be like, oh, game 1, game 2, game 3. And by the time you know it, it's already like game 15. And you'll be looking at the overall charts, it's like, okay, what are our chances of going up the charts anymore from there, right? So that's why with this sort of format, I find it really interesting is that you really, really need to have a good start here. Not impossible for you to get a comeback later on, but you don't want to put yourself in a difficult situation.
No, you don't. I mean, it's true. It's much more rare that a team, and I'll use the example as to where we're at now, like a team that's either unlucky, Armor, newbies, etc., go from the position they're in and win and finish first. Very rare, very unlikely. It has happened. It can happen. It has to happen now. It has to happen very quickly where they start to turn their form around, but it's just very unlikely. So it's why when you're playing 5 matches in a night and only 15 throughout the weekend, starting well is always better than finishing well. So I think that for NRG, it's the perfect start where they've now got a good basis point where if they do kind of now drop off a little bit, because they won 2 games in a row. You're not just going to win every single game. So technically, the only way for NRG to go now is down. Like, unless they win 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row. At some point, it's going to have to drop. So they have to just make sure that they've banked on these points, and that then when they do have a bad game, that then doesn't turn into a bad string of games, that they then bounce back up. And that's going to be the next task for them, whether that's here on Miramar or potentially on Erangel in the last game. Because they've got a decent little gap. I mean, they're already 13 points clear of second through 3 matches. Like, that's pretty nuts. And they're close to 20 points in front of third. And I'd say, realistically, for them, anything in the top 2 is really good. The PMS points that you get, 100 for first, 80 for second, then it drops off pretty quickly after that. Then it's 60, then it's 50, etc. So if they can finish in the top 2 from this point onwards by the end of the week for NRG, that's got to be the goal. You don't have to necessarily finish first. But yeah, a top 2's got to be their goal. So we go to the man of the match, which was Faith, 3 kills, 200 damage. It's in line with what we saw from Crazy Dog in the game prior to this.
Yeah, similar play style show up towards the end. Hence, in case, ladies and gentlemen, you missed the previous round and you're thinking to yourself that, oh, only 3 kills and he's the MVP. But then again, it's the majority number as compared to his other teammates. So yeah, a pretty similar style like how it was in Tego. And of course, they scored the chicken dinner. And not the most points of them all. Alter Ego had the most, but still, they'll be pretty happy with the consistency that they're currently at.
Look at ATO, 6 points through the opening 3 matches. Hasn't quite been their night today. But same with obviously a couple of teams. An opportunity coming into Miramar to turn their luck around, turn their fortunes around. I think that they've shown glimpses, as most of the teams really, I'd say almost every single team in this lobby now that we've played 18 matches of PUBG. Every team's shown a glimpse. Every team has probably shown what they are capable of, and it's just all about putting it together on a consistent basis. Like even Team Newbies finished off really nicely on the Sunday last week to close week 1. Arma started a little bit better than maybe this week compared to last week. Unlucky was in a top 4 position, for week 1. So even the teams that are at the bottom right now through 3 games have shown that they're capable of performing, and highlights how competitive this lobby really is going to be. And look at August in 7th now, after winning week 1. It hasn't quite been as easy for them in week 2. Teams are stepping it up, so they've dropped a little bit. Vegas still doing quite nice. They're kind of just averaging through after a decent first game for matches 2 and 3, where they're just picking up enough points in their non-dominant games that I still look at them as actually being one of the best placed teams, because we haven't seen them be ultra dominant across the last 2 matches. Yet they're still finding ways to pick up points, and typically that's a showcase. A surefire case that's a good team. That's a really good team, and they'll get back into their best form, sooner rather than later.
Oh, and looking at the stats for Team Newbies, looks like Sniper and Anarchy have been stepping up the game for the team. But I guess for Team Newbies, for the most part, yeah, they've shown that they're able to frag like through the stats. It's okay. And obviously those stats were accumulated from week number 1. But I guess it was, for the most part, the position and decision making that they need to improve if they want to get out of that bottom 16.
25 points as well for Shadow Esports through the first couple of matches. Just a really solid team. Good fragging power, especially from Hansi Jaxi and Setsuna. Need to maybe get a bit more out of Kamal's, but his damage is actually really good. So he's putting in the damage. He's just not quite getting the reward for effort. So at least, and the beauty of seeing both statistics, if you don't see the damage dealt and you're just seeing the kills, you're like, well, maybe you could be doing a little bit more, but still putting in some really good damage. Damage matters. You're removing helmets, vests, you're removing med supplies, even if it's just raw damage and you're not contributing to actual kills, it all still matters. But for Arma, they've been really quiet tonight. I mean, you're in the bottom 2. Naturally, you're not making a lot of waves and making the headlines. Pivy, Dusky, Cherry, and Suspect are veterans of PUBG, been around for 8-something years. These guys know how to play the game. There's no doubt about it. It just hasn't quite been their night tonight. Nothing's really working for them. And add in the fact that Suspect is disconnected. Hopefully, he can get back in.
Yeah, but worst case scenario, okay, I'm trying to see are they far away from him? Okay, so at least Suspect is still with the team. So if he gets connected again, okay, they can just resume from where they are, and they are in the circle. So it's still okay. There's still some room for him to come back and pick himself back up again. Now, with this kind of circle, I would expect that there will be a lot more focus to play around the high grounds of Power Grid at some point. No team is really taking the high ground yet, or maybe they're just waiting for phase number 2, so that's okay as well, because there's still a big possibility that circle will go down to the lower ground. But if you take the high ground, and in case the circle does go all the way to the low ground, it's always easier to navigate around that rather than you're on the lower ground, you have to track up to the high ground when there might be other teams there.
Yeah, I mean, Miramar is always a bit tricky because you've got different sections of the map that play quite differently. South side, more open fields. North side, a lot more of the mountain terrains with big gaps between them. I think the middle is probably where you would want to play more often as a player, just because there's the variance is not as bad. There's a bit of mountain. There's a lot more city in play. A lot of more buildings. So there's the cover that's necessary for the late game. NRG naturally, as we follow them, looking for 3 in a row. And I mean, sometimes you just go on a crazy night where it just all clicks. Everyone's communicating well. You're all playing well. You're getting a bit of circle luck. What I want to see from them, and again, it's not their fault, but how they will play in a game where the circle doesn't go their way. You know, where it's shifting away from them, where they're chasing the circle, which is what a lot of other teams have had to do tonight. So they've been the benefactors, whereas everyone else has kind of had to keep chasing these circles, and those games can be far more difficult. Now, of course, these kills that we're seeing are inclusive of week 1, so it's an all-in total kill total, I guess, not just for tonight, not just for week 2. Otherwise, yeah, it would be actually kind of interesting to see who's sort of at the top for just tonight so far. We saw the total leaderboard before, and I think there was like 5 teams all at 19 kills, so a pretty good even spread.
And London is at the top of the chart. Speaking about London and SavageMan Esports, after a really good start today, they seem to be rather quiet. So I don't know. Hopefully they haven't lost steam yet. But of course, switch of a map is one thing. The circle is one thing as well. So perhaps their playstyle was well suited towards the first game, which was the Rango. But after that, considering the circumstances, I noticed that they tried to do something similar, but I guess it didn't really work out for them. So they really need to readapt themselves to this current circle. And now we can see that teams have a rather good spread in the circle itself, but that might change significantly in phase 2. Something that SavageMan Esports will need to fall back to the drawing board on how they're going to play this game.
Yeah, so Energy get on the move early here. They're going to have to rotate a bit more in this game than they've had to in the last 2 games, that's for sure. And rotating in Miramar can be very, very deadly. Just ATO here peppering from above. You're going to have a lot of teams that are going to be in those kind of positions with the higher ground playing on the mountains, and teams that are rotating down below are just going to get absolutely peppered. ATO themselves now will get on the move too. Yeah, bit of a rough circle though. I mean, you've got a giant mountain in the middle of it that's kind of separating the circle into these kind of quadrants. So Power Grid's going to be overwhelmed. San Martin as a city is just too far north for me. I just don't think you really want to play that. Picardo, of course, on the south side of Power Grid Mountain. It's a very fun circle to sort of see how this is going to play out, because that Power Grid Mountain is a bit more steep than it really looks. And so if you're around Graveyard, Picardo, and it goes back up north towards Power Grid, getting up there is just going to be an absolute pain. And then vice versa as well. If it kind of shifts south or east, coming down Power Grid is going to be annoying too. So it's one of the... you can almost kind of look at this game almost as if it were a river, and that sort of 50-50 split decision-making of which way do we want to go? Do we want to play above? Do we want to play below? What positions are we in right now? That's going to be a big factor. There's not a lot of room and space for the massive 2-2 splits, but Shadow Esport kind of have one around Graveyard. It's not doing too much for them besides maybe an entry point back up over towards Power Grid if they want to leave Graveyard and go up towards Power Grid. But they've also got to be careful of, well, a lot of teams still need to get into this phase 2 circle. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 teams that are not even in the phase 2 circle, and there's not a lot of space. So this is a deadly phase 2 circle.
And NRG is not going to have any of that. They're going to move away from their current position. But we're switching over to Vega Esports now. Long range taps. So I guess it's more of just them trying to open up space, picking up people. If they can get points from there, it's going to be a bonus for them. And creating space for themselves to go into the circle. Oculus, try to stop Alter Ego from coming in onto the high ground into the circle. But because it's only phase number 2, so there's still a lot of space for them to play with. They can still rotate the other side. CJ trying to get away. His teammates are on the high ground though. They're able to provide him cover fire. So he should be okay here.
I mean, okay for now, but where do they go from here? That's going to be the question. And you've still got to then see what happens phase 3. So you're maybe not too antsy about getting into a set position. You're kind of just going to play out in the wilderness for now, hold safe positions, scout out, get info, see what phase 3 circle is going to bring. You don't want to over rotate and try and go for a spot just yet. It's too early. Too much that can change with the way that this circle is developed. If you try and play for a prio position phase 2, it's just going to most likely backfire. I mean, for the teams that were already in and around these positions, not much that they can do. You kind of just hold. So game start win, for instance, just north of Picardo on the hill, you're just not going to move. There's just nowhere really to go. You have to just hope that you're going to get fed and that not a lot of teams are going to, you know, come in your direction. So you look like Alter Ego here just playing the edge of the circle because they just want to see what the next circle pop's going to bring. They can't go past Orclus. They can't go NRG. And fortunately for them, it does go north. But do you really want to go into San Martin at this point with this circle still only phase 3? Fairly likelihood that it's going to move south and away from San Martin. So even that as a city, yes, you'll see maybe some teams use it as a safe haven just because maybe they're getting in late, there's nowhere else to go, all the good prior spots are taken. But it's not really where you want to be. You're not looking at that and going, hell yeah, let's get into San Martin. If you're going to go there, try and play the edges of it, keep your vehicles and be able to leave as best as possible because it's unlikely that it'll stay in the playing field later in phase 4, phase 5.
Yeah, San Martin is not good for long term, right? Especially with this kind of circle. And if you're caught in a situation that, oh, it's a phase 4, phase 5 circle and we need to cross the road and there are many other teams at the high ground, it's going to be really difficult. So Alter Ego, they're going to manage that early by crossing the road first while they still have that space. And now with Oculus, time for them to get in action. And teams are coming their way. Mad Dog taking a bit of damage, but he still has space to recover.
Yeah, this is just the rotate simulator on Miramar. You go to one spot, you're getting shot at. You go to another spot, you're getting shot at. Your vehicle tires are getting popped. Getting low on vehicle health, so then you pull up and you're in a bad spot. I mean, Alec has probably been here many times over. Of course, the pickaxe, you can create your own little bowl, little safe position to play from, which we've been seeing teams really use tonight quite extensively. There hasn't probably been as much rotating as I expected on this phase 3 circle pop. It's begun again because no one wants to go San Martin. No one has gone in there. No one's utilizing that space. The graveyard teams have kind of just shifted over towards the hill of Power Grid, but they can't really push up it. So they're just kind of circle to circle movement, but they're not probably too happy with where they sit right now and are hoping for a bit of fortune going into phase 4. But this is Miramar in a nutshell. We're reaching the 16-minute mark and you still have 64 players alive. Like we're actually beyond halfway through this match and no one has died yet.
Oh yeah, this is the longest wait for a first blood that we've seen so far, but yep, I guess we got it.
Well, that was the disconnect. That was the disconnect.
Okay.
So that doesn't count.
Okay. I was about to say that. Okay, so that doesn't count technically. All right, but we might see one here soon. Show's just right in front of Arjun Bots. Who's going to pull the trigger first? It's going to be Show. He's definitely going to get this one. That's going to be Arjun Bots down, and Show with the Scar L is going to lock in that kill point.
Yeah, that's just TPP cheese from Show. I mean, you can't blame him. That's just what the game is now, but keeps himself low, keeps his head down, and he's just kind of looking up with the camera. Circle pop phase 4 over towards the eastern side. Great for Armor Esports. Just a little reprieve. Buys them some time, lets the lobby kind of sort out. Maybe some teams might crash into their compound. A better spot for them to fight late game than if they had to kind of leave now and push up the hill and push into teams. So they'll be pretty happy with that circle pop. Vega's kind of in and amongst it, south side of San Martin. Power Grid no longer in, so a couple of teams are going to have to leave that position now. They were very much hoping for a western shift, didn't get it. As Aimbot abusing the high ground against the ETO on the rotate down below, empty as well with Yorg. Good opportunity, hard shots to hit though. And Loba just gets lit up and he goes down. Good spray from Empty. Now looking for the tire pops to just put some vehicle damage into ATO. It's a decent job from Vega. That was technically the second kill of the game at the 17.5 mark as Kenz also goes down. Now very much expecting, based on this circle pop, based on the rotates, and the fact that there are so many teams still alive inside of this lobby, it is going to heat up massively.
Oh, and unlucky
Oh
now.
my goodness.
Unlucky for them.
Playing
Oh my
like a
goodness.
bot. What the
And
hell?
Nagoni now tries to seek revenge for his teammates, but on the high ground, we do have Happy Squad there waiting, and Gonny now has to manage not only the passing by Alter Ego, but
Look
also
at that kill
Happy
feed.
Squad.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole full screen.
It's reaching its limit. I think it reached its limit for about a good 5 to 10 seconds. Orca are going to be the ones eliminated. The power grid is popping off right now. Of course, that's no longer inside of the circle. NRG just going to have to get out of here, rotate out. So they've got a bit of a difficult game for them. In comparison to the last 2 games, far more rotating, tricky spots, and God XP caught by the spray down of CJ. NRG just want to try and get out of here rather than opting to fight. They've lost 1, but if they can get to a good spot with 3 players up, unfortunately, as soon as they get into the circle and away from Augulus, it's straight into Savage Men Esports. And so for NRG, having to chase the circle this game, it's a bit more difficult than the prior 2, where they got back-to-back chicken dinners. Just the 1 kill. Certainly not going to get placement points now. Turtle in the smoke. A nade lands on him. He will go down. He's just able to survive for now until that smoke dissipates. And once it does, he's got nowhere to hide.
Yeah, I mean, it's just lots of open space, right? And Savage Man Esports waiting up in the high ground. Unless if Team Newbies can somehow distract Savage Man Esports. But I don't think that's going to be the case. While all that is happening, another fight's going up north as well. So we have Alter Ego here trying to stop Shadow Esports from coming in, and Queen just got tagged.
Yeah, and man, trying to see if he can get some information with his camera, but just the sort of terrain of that road not giving him anything, so he can't really spot what he's searching for. Circle shift, phase 5, over towards game start win, and unlucky right on top of the terrain and away from the compound of armor. They were maybe hoping for 1 more shift, just 1 more onto their compound. They don't get it, but fortunately, good news for them is that circle now looks way more open, as we've essentially lost close to 30 players in the last 2.5 minutes. Like, it's been that much of a bloodbath, and what that does now is opens up this circle for teams to now push into phase 5 that have now been winning these fights and have players up, but a lot of them are quite wounded. There's not too many that, at least from the ones that were fighting, still have 4 up. I mean, even for Savage Men Esports, they weren't really in the thick of the fight. They were already in a pretty good spot. They picked up 2 kills, just kind of freebie kills from sitting and kind of gatekeeping now this phase 5 circle, but prior to that phase 4. So that's why they've still got 4 up. But anyone who wasn't in a good position is now heavily wounded.
And Savage Man Esports, they can still get more out of that situation. As for Vega, now still with the high ground advantage, trying to stop the rotation of the other teams. Spray down here by AJ. And there are more teams that he can pick up from. Okay, that's going to be kill points number 1 after all that. Okay, I was kind of expecting that Vega Esports to have collected more than that, but okay, I guess 1 is a start for them.
Yeah, they haven't really had anyone close push up to them, so a lot of their fighting has been on vehicles, on rotates, from distance, so it limits the ability for them to pick up the kill points. Unfortunately, Monk get eliminated. It's just turning into a pretty bad night for them. As Empty has a chance now onto ATO, and he can't. The wall just blocking a lot of the vision, and Gops was quick to turn around, where Empty was way more out in the open compared to ATO. They will punish him. Vega now go down to 3 players as well. That was the first opportunity for them to take the fight maybe a little bit more winnable. Nicely done from Monty to get the double on the man, and Queen V3 trying to just push out here of the south side of San Martin. Monty's got the angle onto Trick. He knows that Trick is in a bad position, but what a frag grenade from Trick onto Monty. That is a wonderful nade to knock out Happy Squad. It's a short reprieve for Alter Ego. I don't know if they're going to be able to get these revives, and it might not be a massive game, but they go to 4 kills. They've still got 2 players just scrambling nicely coming out of San Martin.
Wow, that was a nade there. That was a 3-pointer there. And here we go, Jing. Let's see with the mortar, is he able to hit anyone from here?
I think he's gonna
Only
be
rather
low.
ambitious with the fact that he can't really see, but let's see, where will it go? Right, goes up, and he's aiming towards... Oh, he's aiming towards Savage Man Esports, and Savage Man Esports. Okay, that was a bit of an off there, but that's okay. At least they kind of know
Vega
the
just got
position of
eliminated.
Savage Man Esports. Oh,
They just got completely wiped out, overwhelmed by Zanshin and ATO. So yeah, that's a rough game for Vega, because I think they were in a position that they could have definitely gained quite a few more kills and gotten a bit more as teams pushed up into them. But alas, just the 1 kill point, and yeah, they remain in third. Fortunately for them, Alter Ego, NRG, 1 player each for the top 2 teams. And these are the kind of games now that present for the teams towards the middle and the bottom end of the leaderboard to catch up to the teams at the top, especially with Vega out. NRG, Alter Ego, probably not going to get too much more. Shadow Esports now up into third after Jaxi gets the elimination on Takia from ATO. They've only got the 2 players and only the 2 kill points from this game. It's been an absolute bloodbath here on Miramar. And the funny thing is, for Savage Man Esports, yes, they got the 4 kills now. They haven't really been in the thick of the fighting. Like, they've been really quiet out on that western side. All the fighting's happening around them, the south side, the north side. They have been able to scrape a couple of kills, but what this does is sets them up for a late game finish. These are the games for Savage Man Esports that they've got to finish top 4 at minimum, as they now enter into the top 8 with 4 players alive and only 1 other team has 4 up, which is game start win. This is a huge opportunity for X-Men.
And the top 2 teams just got eliminated back-to-back, NRG and Alter Ego. And like what you said, this is going to be a big game for them to leapfrog a lot of teams on top of them. Zanshin, on the other hand, okay, Sync is playing this very, very safely. I don't think he's going to get much vision from here, so he's just going to play by the circle, playing it really safe, and see where the next circle goes.
Yeah, I mean, so you can see on the mini-map, you've got the mountains, and then it's just open space. So you push down this mountain, you're into open space. There's not really anywhere else you can go. It's a fun circle to kind of watch, though, as they navigate around these positions. They've got to be careful of all the nooks and crannies, all these little positions, all these little bowls. Around the corners can be anyone. In this case, we can see that, you know, Bolang is really, really close by. He's opting for the flash first underarm throw, but he's got one above him as well. Honestly, this is a decent clear from Zanshin. They had 1 up, 2 down, and so they were able to get a much better view of what was around them. Akasari spots out Bolang, gets the kill. And Zanshin just quietly putting together a decent game. 4 kills, 3 players alive, now into the top 9 of the leaderboards, just staying in and around that pack. The funny thing is, they're only 7 points behind the top 3. So an opportunity presenting for them too. Savior just gets headshotted by the Mark 12 of Xeno from quite a distance. That's as far a distance as you're possibly going to get on this phase 6 circle. But it will be a pretty easy revive for Savage Man Esports. Into phase 7 we go. And you can just look at this terrain. It's just mountains and flat openness. Will we go more towards the mountains or more towards Savage Man Esports? I'm expecting Savage Man Esports, but it actually just goes kind of south side. Not great for Zanshin, not great for Shadow, certainly not for the soul of Oricolis. For Zen Esports, a sync knocked down by Jaxi. It seems like they're going to have this fight over to the north side of the circle. 2 up for Zanshin. RZRZ trying to find the tag onto Kamal's, almost tried to find the headshot angle, couldn't connect onto him. And Akasari neither with Yorg as they lose Sync. Big frag grenade, but just thrown over. Very difficult to land those. Throwing those down with the way that it can bounce off the rocks. These are probably easy to throw the frag grenade up at this point, as that actually got some damage onto Akasari.
That's such a tough position to play in, especially for the teams up north here. So Zanshin, yes, they might be able to deal with Shadow Esports, but the moment they step into the circle, then Savage Man Esports will be waiting for them. But one step at a time. And the pressure is going to be onto Shadow Esports with the fact that the blue is just right behind them and they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take this fight, and Jaxi gets the knockdown onto RZRZ. So this is where you obviously don't want to rush out. You got to push together, make it difficult for Akasari. But in this game, it's so easy to get the trade and transfer. So if you're too close, it's easy then for Akasari to get both of you. But good use of the utility to throw at him. They're trying to make the run. Good peek with the TPP. But in the end, up close, finally got there was Jaxi. They make the death run work for Shadow Esports, picking up a couple more kills, solidifying their spot in 3rd place for now, and a good opportunity to go get that revive. Still be 2 players up. A bit of time here with this blue. Still 50 seconds until phase 8 as Lunar goes down to Cherry. Armor Esports have just quietly been able to get a couple of kills, get some placement points, get themselves out of that last place on the leaderboard. As Xeno just navigating this terrain on the south side of the circle. Of course, they and X-Men, the only 2 teams still with 4 players alive. Everyone else is down to 1 or 2.
And Savage Man Esports, this could be their comeback round here, looking at their current position as well. But let's see where we'll face it bring them. Most likely we'll go towards the middle. But if we go towards the middle, then the teams at high ground will have somewhat of an advantage as well. Oraculus, oh man, what a position that he's at. But it's very unlikely he's going to get the next piece of the circle. So this could be the end of the line for him.
Surely this goes center, and yeah, it does. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one because you can say, well, it works out for X-Men, but they also need to push into this circle. And with the high ground advantage, they might be up against it. Now, if they can kind of get to the base point of the mountain so that they're not out in the open and they're kind of directly below, that might help them. But the problem is then there's two mountains. And so if you do that, if you kind of push over to the mountain on the north side where Shadow Esports are, then GameStart Win can just peek over and kill you. As Goni gets the double kill, frag grenade on the Cherry and PV up close. Oraculus in a 1v1 against Kamals does finish him off. And then from above, Jexy was able to get the trade. At least by getting that kill from Jexy, there's another kill point and into the top 4. So good placement points. A Savior knocked down by Xiaofeng. Upchain got one with the mini onto Xiaofeng. So at least 1 for 1, but not ideal for Savage Man Esports. They have tried to make that push to the baseline of the rock on the north side of this circle. Hence why then GameStart Win had the angle to start firing at them.
It's still kind of hard to tell like who will score this chicken dinner. Yes, it does look like, okay, Savage Man Esports, they're in the circle, but then again, a lot of their other teammates are in an open position. The moment they step up from their compound, especially the ones on the outside of the circle, then they will be in an open space. So they have to be really, really smart about this. Not sure how many smokes do they have. But now that we get a good look from the aerial view, GSW, they seem to have the best position in the current circle.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, Jumo for Savage Man Esports still has to kind of get across as well. Otherwise, then it's only 2 up for Savage Man.
They have to step
So
down.
he's just quietly trying to make his run across, put a bit of pressure on the GameStart Win. He's at the rock. So if they know where he is and they start firing shots at him, he's in the circle for now, but he'll be one of the earlier ones to get pushed out by Phase 9. And doesn't have any smokes. So it's a very difficult proposition. I mean, even Jexy as the solo can still win this game. All 4 teams can win this game. I don't think there's a team you look at and say, well, they're in the best position. So you could make the argument for Savage Man Esports, for Lunlin and Upchain are in a pretty good spot. Maybe they'll hope that GameStart Win and Unlucky as the circle starts to, come down to the final moments and shrink up, that they'll kind of fight each other. Upchain gets the tag onto Xiaofeng, knocks him down. Doing a decent job to put the pressure back on the GameStart Win as they're trying to force their way down this hill. I mean, this is where X-Men are playing this perfectly. They're putting the pressure on. They're not allowing them to push down for free. Jing's going to get knocked down. Fevin gets involved as well. He got a knock onto Xeno. There's the third party from Unlucky. So it goes against GameStart Win as they needed to push down this hill. Savage Man Esports played it well. They got aggressive. They started to fire shots at them and make it very difficult rather than allowing them to push down for free. Here comes Jexy though. So Upchain and Lilin now know there's one close by, up close against them. Still 3 up gives them the advantage. Xeno and Sho go down, so that's the end of GSW. And then they deal with the solo, and it's a 2v3. Unlucky's been a little quiet towards the end of this game, but they have the chance against Savage Man Esports.
Savage Man Esports, they have the high ground advantage against Unlucky. They're the man advantage and also the geographical advantage. I mean, this could be a good one for them. Okay, Goni, just right in front of them. Now he lobs out all his utilities. He's going to go up to the high ground, immediately gets tagged.
Yeah, and then Fevin, as soon as he comes out of the smoke, all too easy for Savage Man Esports as they're back in the winner position for the first time since Game 9 of Week 1. It's their second chicken dinner here for PUBG Master Series Phase 1. And it also now means they continued this streak, Cloud, where they've only made top 4 twice, and both times they won those games. Every other match, they've not made top 4. But for Savage Man Esports, when they do, they usually end it with a decent amount of kills. And considering the work that they've done earlier tonight, that is a good rebound game after a bit of a lackluster Rondo. They turn it around on Miramar, and they pick up a big, big win.
Yeah, I guess that just means that they just need to find a level of consistency. Like, we do know Savage Man Esports, even from tournaments before, right? And also from this tournament with this kind of lineup, we know that they're able to come up with a good one. Started off the day very well with a lot of kill points, and now coming in with the chicken dinner, they just need to be consistent.
Yeah, I'm kind of just looking back a little bit as to how they got to the position that they did. They actually came from like Picardo's side, right? And so when it shifted up towards that San Martin, they kind of just snuck by GSW. GSW actually had a 2-2 split. Rather than sticking together, they actually left a big gap. And X-Men then abused that gap, went straight through that split, pushed in towards the center of the zone, and just kind of sat there. So they played probably one of their smarter matches of PUBG. A little bit of benefit from the zone then, that it kind of kept them in their location where they could play what was a spread open compound, bit of cover, and then they started to pick at some of these teams pushing in, which there were a lot of. We got to, what was it, the 17-minute mark, and you had everyone, or 15.5-minute mark, had everyone alive, and then by the 18-minute mark, 30 were dead. So it was just an absolute brawl trying to play off of what this circle was presenting around the terrain that was there. But SavageMan Esports, a big early call to go center, benefited them greatly. And that's what I've been kind of saying about them, is a lot of the times they'll kind of play around the edge and they'll be in those brawling fights. They'll be one of those teams that, sure, might have picked up 4 or 5 kills, but would have gone out in around, 9th or 10th. But this time they went center and it paid off perfectly.
Yeah, I like the fact that there was this one point where they were playing by the edge of the circle, stopping teams from coming in, picking up a couple of kill points along the way. So they set themselves up really, really well. And then the challenge was like, okay, the circle shifted, there's a lot of open space there. How do we deal with the teams, especially on the high ground? But they managed it well. They started off by managing teams across them rather than Shadow Esports. So that was a good strategy that they had before that. So great work by SavageMan Esports, doing really well, but they need to be consistent.
And I think looking back at it as well, there was a moment for game start win. So for SavageMan Esports, they needed to cross from where they were to that base of the hill north away from GSW. And when they did that, GSW were shooting at them. If they get a couple more kills or certainly put a little bit more damage into X-Men and they don't get to that position as safely, it was actually Savior that moved first. He got downed. Then Lunlun and Upchen actually got there and got there safely. So GSW needed to probably be a little bit more aggressive when they were putting that pressure on. That once Upchen and Lunlun got to that spot and then they were safe, then it kind of flipped. And it was actually from GSW being the aggressors and trying to deny space from X-Men, X-Men then were able to deny GSW from pushing down their hill. So there was a small moment there where for game start win, if they had maybe played that a little bit better, they would have been the ones in first. They would have had more of the points here, but it goes the way of X-Men. Credit especially to Upchen and Lunlun. They made the cross, good position, and then knew when to get aggressive. 19 points, picking up the vast majority. Big game from Shadow Esports, but you have to tip your hat to Jexy. He was a big part of that. Just moving around the rocks like a mountain goat, picking up some solid kills, got some points. Best game we've seen from Unlucky tonight, and so better from them. Probably more to the form line that we saw, I think, back on Friday and Saturday of week 1 in comparison to Sunday and the first few games tonight. Sees them go up to 10th with 17 points. NRG, the first game tonight really where they had to work for it, and they only picked up the 2 points, so they'll be disappointed. And it has now shrunk the gap at the top as X-Men up into 2nd place.
With only a 4-point gap between NRG and SavageMan Esports, so great work there. Coming back up again, it's just that they need to retain a level of consistency. But for Team Newbies as well, so we have to welcome them into the double-digit point mark, 10 points collected, and they are slowly rising up. But then again, of course, they have to do significantly more for them to be at least in the first half of the overall total leaderboard. But one step at a time, I guess. And there's still at least one more game to go tonight.
And don't forget for NRG, they didn't pick up any PMS points in week 1. So if they're going to be trying to get back into the overall series, they need all 100 or at least 80, because you're going to have some teams that this week might walk away with 80 that got 50 last week. So there's 130, right? So they're already a little bit behind the 8 ball, and certainly not the greatest game there on Miramar, but they'll be happy after 4 matches as to where they sit. We're going to go to a short break. When we do come back, the very last game here for tonight will be on Erangel.
first backup has arrived coming in with the blue zone grenade. Might be able to flush them off of position as he goes in for the flank with this AUG. And just like that, he catches one, looking for two. Runs right into the smoke. He does not get to trade them for far too long, but he will just fools it regardless. There we go. Gets kill number 2, make it 3 as Orkless goes on a killing spree.
They find their sprint, there's gonna be none. Finds a sprint of Kamal. That's gonna be a kill point for themselves here. But it looks like Shadow Esports, they're not intending to move away from the current position. No, they want to secure the edge. It looks like they're gonna be running alongside with Team Newbie. A beautiful nade to get the 2 double knock at the same time. Whereas on the other side, it looks like VG putting the numbers on Team Monk and eliminating him from the competition. Tentry moves in aggressively.
Kill onto Unforgiven as well, as RZRZ gets rid of Algebot. Paul Setsuna up by himself, gets the headshot onto Jing, and then the second onto Xiaofei, and then the third as well onto Show. Well, Setsuna goes down fighting. Even as the solo, you can still have big impact.
Feels like it's great. Realign it. Let's see how good is the second one.
But that was a
Happy
close one,
Squad
though.
being pushed forward. Looks like Happy Squad, they decided to not wait for the
Oh.
tail, but with the mortar! The realignment was great, and now throwing an absolute wrench to Monk's plan here.
2 more kills for Shadow, even though they're down to the 2 players. And they're pushing into Upchen by himself. Gets one on the left side. He's gonna get one on the right. He does. Monty and Algebot's both down. It's Upchen on 30 health. Looking for the third, and he secures it onto Nan. He absolutely wipes out Happy Squad. That is a huge 3K from Upchen.
For me, it's very hard transitioning from FPP to TPP. We are still, adapting, learning the TPP. I think it's a different game now. We value team play more. I'm happy that we got Mad Dog. He gives us like a staple in the team. So in that part, he eases the gameplay.
I think playing 4 weeks of tournament relieves a lot of pressure since you can play more games, and overall the luck factor will be lessened, so it's good for the tournament itself.
For me, I think we're very confident. I stopped playing PUBG for 3 years and then came back. We went to TPP mode. Then early this year we started grinding. We started practicing more, and then I think that built up confidence. Even though I haven't played any tournament for a long time, but I trusted these guys to pull it off, and then I also trusted myself to go back and compete. I think we're very confident for the next 3 weeks. Although, yeah, there's a patch. The gameplay will be different a little bit, but we will try to adapt. I mean, we've been playing pubs, which is the new patch, for quite a while, so we sure be confident to go through the next 3 weeks. Thank you.
We just go chill and play together. Maybe just trust our teammates.
Yeah, I think we're very comfortable. I mean, we've been playing with each other since the PUBG tournaments, and then even from the start, me and CJ have been playing from the start to compete. We're also comfortable with each other since I know these guys can compete well. I mean, they can perform in tough situations. Especially me, I want to go back to playing LAN events like PGC or...
Well, it's a strange one. We head into the last game of the night, yet it feels like it's only just heating up. Week 2, day 1 has left us in a position where after 4 games, Cloud, there's not really a runaway leader of this lobby. NRG, of course, got the back-to-back wins, but a slow game there on Miramar has left them vulnerable. Savage Men Esports have had a really good night tonight, but they've also had maybe a game or two where they haven't picked up a huge amount of points. And our leaders from last week, Vega and Orgless, starting to drop down the leaderboard a little bit, which opens up a pathway for the rest of the lobby. We head back to Erangel for our last match of the night.
And that's the fun thing about today, right? There's no one runaway winner. Teams are pretty much balanced, especially at the top. So it's who's to tell right now after 4 games, like who's going to be the winner of week number 2. So that's really, really exciting. And of course, we cannot we cannot put down the fact that teams on the second half of the overall leaderboards can climb up as well. Of course, we're still into day number 1, and one good game from pretty much any of the teams on the second half of the leaderboard can significantly boost them in the overall charts to be, well, maybe not at the top, but at least they'll be knocking on the door to be in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Savage Men Esports, they're a scary prospect if they get going. They've got the fracking power. If they can continue to pick up wins, just got to find the consistency in the placement finishes. That's the biggest thing for them. Again, we've gone through what is essentially 19 matches, still only finished top 4 twice, but in those top 4s, they won both of them. So it's just a case of, can they just keep getting back there consistently enough? I think that's the only thing that will hinder them. Shadow Esports in a good position. Great game from Jexy. I think that they showed a good amount of promise in week 1, so I'm not surprised why they're in 3rd right now. Alter Ego keep, putting together good, consistent performances. And for NRG, it's just a case of, good game on Erangel match 1, and then win, and then that's it. So a lot of their points, not quite the spread performance tonight after a poor Miramar in comparison to some of the other teams, but they'll be very happy with night 1 considering they've already passed the total points that they got from last week. For Savage Men Esports, now the big test will be, can they do it again? Can they get that consistency? Because on Erangel match 1 tonight, they picked up 11 kills, but they went out in 10th. So can they do 11 kills and also get a top 4 finish at the very least?
And man of the match is Lun Lun. And he's not only the man of the match, but at some point when the stats popped up, like, he had the most kills of everyone else as well. So this player has been really, really consistent by himself. And I'm glad to see that, at least for week number 2 so far, Savage Men Esports doing so far so good. And Lun Lun has been showing why they deserve to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, Lundland's been really good. He was amazing for week 1, considering the team finished in 13th position. For him to be, he was in the top 5 for kills, yet they were in 13th. Kind of speaks volume to his ability to get kills early on in rounds, because they weren't finishing late in games. So the average survival time was quite low in comparison to those that were in the top 5 for kills. In terms of the teams towards the bottom end, so kind of looking more towards, I think, the bottom 6 teams. I'll leave Unlucky because they had a pretty decent game in that last one, around 17 points, still around an okay position. But yeah, Monk, it's been a rough night. They had a player that didn't join one game, then they have had a disconnect. They died on a rotation path, which happens to the best of us. It just been one of those kind of choppy nights. It hasn't clicked, it hasn't worked. But again, the kind of team that it might only take one game and then they can finish top 4 with a bunch of kills. They've got that within them. They desperately need it here on Erangel. Happy Squad and Zen, just not really that relevant. Haven't seen a lot of them. Haven't seen them in good fights. Happy Squad had one moment, I think it was either Miramar or Rondo, where they had a decent fighting opportunity, and then that was it. And Team Newbies, probably back to where we expect them to be. Hate to say it, but like week 1, they were in last place for the vast majority until the very last night, where they got the win. They picked up a couple more points, snuck out of the bottom 2. Armor has been a big surprise for me, though, like sitting on just 9 points when they finished 8th in week 1, 83 points. You know, they were only 7 points off the top 5. It's been a rough night for Armor Esports and for ATO as well, for that matter.
And maybe this could be an opportunity for them to make a comeback, right? Because I noticed that they kind of started off somewhere in the middle of the circle. So they have the opportunity of playing this a little bit safer, at least at the start of things, and see where does phase 2, phase 3 takes them to. But by starting in the middle, at least it gives you a little bit more chill time. And if you've been having a run of bad games, starting in the middle is the best. So you get to like try to feel the game. You have a little bit more space to do that, and you can try to gain your momentum towards the end. Pretty much play like how NRG did. Like they stayed quiet in 1 or 2 of their matches, and they just show up at the end and they scored the chicken dinner. So maybe that's what Armor Esports needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think any time you're towards the bottom of a leaderboard, there's always a lot you can learn. You know, you take the learnings, really. It's the best mindset that you can have. And you walk away and think, well, what could have we done better tonight? What was our rotations like? What did we get to the prior positions we wanted? you know, sometimes you just lose gunfights. Those things happen, and the mechanical stuff can be a little bit more difficult to fix. But you know, the beauty of this game is there's a lot of the macro that you can work on. How much time you spent looting in a certain spot? What was your scouting like? Did you get to the right spots? You know, were you able to have the best strategy and then from there execute it? So I think for those teams, there's a multitude of factors where, you know, there's probably reasons why, you know, they're towards the bottom. Circle, by the way, is just dead center. It's just going to be a dead center Erangel circle that'll develop over the game. Not much for phase one to really talk about in terms of the circle. The points per game expectation. So after week one, it was 9.8 points per game, at just shy of the 10. So the teams that are kind of, you know, on track for that are very much the likes of NRG and Savage Men Esports, at least from tonight. So they're both in really good positions. As Monty for Happy Squad gets the first knockdown of the game, that we'll see if he can actually get that flush. There's actually already quite a lot of teams to the center point here for phase one. There's only like one or two teams that are actually not in this phase one circle. ATO towards the bottom, last place at the moment. Not in a bad spot, just a little bit to the southeastern side of this circle. Zen Esports over towards the mill to bridge, trying to put some more pain into Monk. As it seems like that will be maybe a revive on the Happy Squad. I can't really see because it's like right in the center of the circle and there's a red zone on top of it as well. But I do see a vehicle going over, so I think there's a chance for the revival.
And I do notice an interesting rotation by NRG, taking the boat ride. Yep, here we go. I mean, on screen, taking the boat ride towards the Bovka. So I guess they're falling back to what gave them the chicken dinner, right? So playing it safe, coming in a little bit later, try to avoid unnecessary fights. Pretty much the formula of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So they seem to be heading that direction. And if we can bring them another chicken dinner, their third chicken dinner for today, well, why not? I'm pretty sure that they won't complain about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping it safe early, Lipovka's not really a hot spot, even for, you know, potential loot early on in the game as well. No one ended up landing there or even going near there. In fact, no one even went mansion or prison for the start of this game. So you can get some extra loot, rotate over through the eastern part of the circle, which is going to be naturally not as packed, not as crowded. They'll need a bit of circle luck phase two to kind of shift their way rather than towards the Pachinki side. Otherwise, then you got to keep the rotate going. Speaking of, Monk have kept their rotate going past prison. So Oraculus not able to connect with that spray, fortunately for Monk, and it would have been a disaster if they had another bad rotate the way that tonight's gone. They just need a clean game just to get the feet set, go into tomorrow a little bit more freshened up, have a good game under their belt. If it's just another game where you lose players on the rotate and it's, you know, you're not getting to the right spots, your vehicles get peppered, you get tires pop, things aren't really great in the first 10, 15 minutes, you just kind of go to bed a bit disappointed and angry rather than filled with a bit of hope. If you can finish the last game off where what sometimes all you need is things to just go your way, have a good game, and you can go to bed saying, well, at least look what we can do when we get a bit of fortune. And now they go straight into Orcatera. This is just rotate after rotate for Monk. Niku's going for a big plate with the seat or with the passenger shot. And this is an easy evacuate away from Sky Garden. You do not want to push that.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, quite clear. Orcatera, they have the rooftop secured. So if you have already somebody at the rooftop, then you don't want to challenge for it. If there's nobody already there, then perhaps you can kind of take a little bit of risk. But that also depends on what kind of strategy and what kind of placement are you at in the overall leaderboard. But anyway, update on the circle. So it looks like it's going to go towards the intersection where majority of the teams are in the circle now.
Well, straight to NRG as well. I mean, out of Lipovka, they kind of went Yaz on the rotate, and the circle going more towards that northeast has benefited NRG perfectly. So they might get a bit of luck to close the night as well. And so far for Monk, it's another one on the rotate in the vehicles. I mean, they've just spent too long in these vehicles. As we got the G-Coin code on your screen right now, it's popped up. Make sure you come and collect your G-Coins. once again in the last game of the night. They like to save that till the end of the night.
That's somewhat been the trend, I guess, for G coins to come out towards the end. But of course, there's a reward for you loyal viewers out there who join us from the start to this very match and to key in your G coins. But Zen Esports looks like Zichuan taking a bit of damage, but position compromise. But I don't think it will be a big problem for now. Having this compound for themselves inside the circle, I don't think any team will want to push this compound for now, especially in phase number 2, where you still have a lot of options to play with.
Yeah, so Monk down to 3. I think they're just going to hold over in Bunnings and hope for the best on a bit of circle. Like, it's just been one of those nights. They probably spent too long in vehicles, too long over rotating, getting to a spot that's already taken, having to backtrack, that go to another spot that's taken, and then you're just getting consistently peppered on your rotates. It's just been a rough night for them. As we look at the travel distance, funnily enough, this is, of course, again, the overall travel distance numbers across week 1, the start of week 2. Alcantara largely out in front, same with August too, which, to be honest, for the team that won week 1 to be in the top travel distance numbers, like, that's actually a really good statistic to highlight that they didn't get fed. They spent a lot of time on the rotate, having to move, and yet they still topped the lobby in week 1. So that's a really good sign for August, that they're not a proponent of needing to get circle luck. They can make their own luck, and that's usually what you want out of your top teams.
And what contributed to that as well is, well, the fact that they got number 1. But we'll talk about that later, because right now Show passing by and Jing will secure that kill point onto Ia. Just as when we highlighted Oculus, what their players just went out.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, good pressure from GSW coming in from behind. Easy spray down. Ia caught by himself at the back. August, the other 3 were already towards the petrol station, and that's just unfortunate. It's been a rough night for them, to be honest. 21 points, down to 3 players, sitting around 8th, which is not bad by any means. They started really well. 2nd place, 6 kills, and then they got 8th, 4 kills. So the first 2 games, like, they were kind of just, okay kind of games, nothing crazy compared to what we saw from them in week 1. But since then, it's been a struggle. They haven't really been able to string together a really solid game that we know they're capable of from as far back as just last weekend. They wouldn't be too happy with tonight's performance, but they're the kind of team you look to tomorrow when we come back and say, yep, night 1 wasn't the greatest. I'm expecting them to bounce back night 2. Maybe they only picked up 20-something points night 1. They're certainly capable of 50-something points night 2, and to see them, get back into a strong position.
Well, now August will need to play the rest of the round with 3 players. But based on your philosophy, it's like, 3 players, it's okay. We've seen it multiple times that 3 players, they're able to get chicken dinner. Vega is an example earlier today. So wouldn't be too worried about all this for now. 3 of them managed to get into the circle and they're A-OK. But looks like Monk just trying to show away opponents, stamping their feet that they are there so that no one else comes by. Lots more rotations happening at the southern side of the circle.
Yeah, it's a rough circle at the intersection because it's a lot of openness. There's some dips and bowls, but they're not quite as effective now with TPP, and I think that it's not as safe as it maybe used to be. Yeah, this is going to be rough. And Xuan, as soon as he just pulls out of that vehicle, and anyone that does the same out in the open field, I mean, there's just like a car rally for ATO there, and Zen Esports lose Xuan, but they can't find a kill back themselves. Teddy actually going to steal that kill away from ATO. Yeah, he'll happily collect that point for Vega Esports. Currently tied on points with game start win. But this, yeah, I mean, going back to that question about August being down to 3 players, the problem is more so the fact that they're out in the open. If you're going to go down to 3 players, it's fine as long as you can get to the late game. But it's a lot harder to do that if there's going to be so many teams rotating around you. The position they're in can be susceptible to being crashed as well over the next 5 minutes or so, depending on the circle. As Aljabots gets the double onto Trick, and man, it's just a send in, and it works out wonderfully for Happy Squad. They'll collect the 2 kills from that, courtesy of Aljabots and Alter Ego. That's just a rough way for them to lose 2 players just as they're pushing in towards the center now. to be down to 2 players themselves. Like, this is where you're just going to see a lot of wounded players towards the center of the circle. Creates opportunities for those 4-man squads that are on the edge. When they do eventually need to push in, they'll have the numbers. They can crash the defilades and the bowls, any compounds that may still remain, which there's not many.
Oh, and Happy Squad making a rotation towards armor. Potentially, they might bump into suspect just right in front of them. They don't know yet though,
Yeah, I
but
can
they're
hear you,
sending out
but
the scouts.
I was
Cantrip
going
going to be the one to do that, and now he knows that somebody's in
this.
this compound, but they still don't know that suspect is there.
Yeah, and it's not a great compound for armor. It's like not fully in. It's in fact, it's very little of it will be in this next circle.
What's
So
that? I was
they're
searching
already
about
on
it.
the edge of it. They're going to have to move phase 4, and suspect is kind of stuck at this hill with Happy Squad. So curious to see what the decision will be for Armor Esports, because it's not just a case of getting your vehicles rotate out, leave, and if they do that, they're going to be leaving suspect behind. Circle pop goes the way of Augler, so that 3-man stack, center of the circle, will be potentially prone to teams on the north side looking to push past, you know, the likes of NRG. Savage Men Esports right now, from what I can see on the map, are almost just crashing into Auglis over towards that bowl. They're actually next to them in the bowl next to it. So it seems like they will just kind of pull up, be safe. Shadow Esports also taking a few pot shots. Auglis, you know, they want to push out. They want to put pressure on as Vega just wipe out Zen Esports, who just sent it straight into them. That's a lovely heads-up play from Tede and Empty for Vega to go to 4 kills in the game. Wipe out Zen. Tough night for them. Just the 12 points, leaving them in the bottom 4 at the end of night 1 here, week 2. Everyone who's kind of already center circle, you're either in a bowl or you're in a car 4 or you're in a position where the sightlines aren't there because of the terrain. So teams that are going to be crashing in late, it's not just going to be a free win. These are well set up positions. You look at the space here for Vega, anyone that comes towards them, they're pushing over the hill, can't see them, don't have the info. Vega are then aware and ready, and you see what happened just then against Zen Esports.
Yeah, I believe we'll definitely see a lot more crashes as we move towards phase number 5. Right now, teams are just deciding on like, okay, where do we want to go from here? How do we slide into phase number 4? And Savage Man Esports in the middle of it. Okay, this is what we talked about here. More teams coming in that direction, and we can see the utilities raining down on both sides.
Yeah, and Shadow Esports may want to get in on this, potentially Auglis, but they're only the 3-man, so they'll keep it a bit more apprehensive. They won't just go full in and try and take this fight. I think they'll just see if they can get a couple of free shots in, maybe shoot GSW in the back and get a little bit of a third party. But if they over peak and over move, then Shadow Esports might have an angle on Auglis. So a fascinating little fight here, because for Savage Man Esports and GSW, yeah, they might throw the utility, but there is a world in which the hostilities might just kind of simmer a little bit. Big nade though from Setsuna lands onto Savior. That could kick things off. Just the knockdown might set things in motion. I think that for Shadow, though, it's a big move if they try and push down here. I think they just want to take the free kills. 2-2 split. They got Handsy and Jaxie at the back, just providing the Overwatch cover from a distance, making sure people don't push up. As Monk just get rid of Zanshin over towards Bunnings. They'll take that one. Needed it. In fact, for Monk, down to 2 players, but now have the 4 kills to their name. Savage Men Esports have lost 1 knockdown from Setsuna, so Shadow are making the most of their position. Again, not overextending. Look at the map. They haven't moved forward. They're just finding the angles to get these knocks, put some work into the team in the bowl. Savior and Shu go down. Upchin and Lorna, the only 2 left for Savage Man Esports. This bowl seemed decent, but with Shadow Esports in their location, it just hasn't been safe.
Oh man, here comes NRG as well in action. They'll lock in their kill point here. Take it out, Kunyit. Oh, but actually Monk. Okay, Monk got another one. Okay, so that's something else elsewhere. That's going to be dip eliminated. Now, God XP for NRG. It's way away from his other teammates, and they need to find a way to get into the circle. But look at the amount of teams on their side. We'll check on them later, because right now, Savage Man Esports will be a push by GSW.
And Bombay eliminated. So Orca Terra don't end the night the way they started the night. Started really hot. Yeah, Upchet and Littleton now just playing to survive. August never pushed over. They're getting aggressed on though by NRG. NRG had pushed into August and CJ gets the initial knock onto God XP. Faith, a Dorito knock onto Alec. As CJ then gets another one. He's gotten 2 crucial knocks for August. You can see in the minimap as we get the fly overhead. August though get eliminated. Big nade from Crazy Dog. They only had the 3 players. CJ did a decent job of trying to defend that position for the trio. But ultimately, NRG overwhelmed them. But now GSW pushing over as well, trying to capitalize upon a wounded NRG. Crazy Dog has to provide the help. Knock onto Xeno. Crazy Dog needs to buy time for those revives to take place, so they're in a better position to take this fight. As Shadow Esports want to keep pushing up, but they need to get past Savage Men Esports. Shadow have only got 1 more player to deal with. It's Upgen down below. There's the drive-by. Setsuna to put an end to X-Men. They will not finish the night in first, and at this rate, might not even finish the night in the top 2. They go out early.
And here comes NRG, rain down those nades, and they manage to get another one. Jing will be down, 2 left. Oh, make that down. Another one for Molly. And look at that. Whoa, just like that. Another team eliminated.
Yeah, great utility usage from NRG. I mean, they were basically on point. And then Jaxi just sent it in as well. NRG now up to 8 kills. Well, if you wanted to question the passive gameplay earlier, here is a bit more of the aggression. They've seen off 2 teams already. How about 1 more? The knockdown onto Jaxi. Here comes Kamels wanting to revive. Now I have to question, though, the utility that actually remains for NRG. As soon as Turtle had to peek over that ridge, knocked out immediately by Hansi. It seems like Shadow Esport have just timed their push perfectly. NRG not given the time and the space to get revived, as God XP on the verge of being eliminated, wants to try and get the flush, doesn't quite get it. It is Armor Esports that go out in 10th. Another poor game for them. They will finish the night in the bottom spot. The God XP, the best thing he can do now is stay alive because we've got 9 teams remaining. He can't do it. NRG go out in 9th. They still picked up 8 kill points. They end the night on 53 as Monk then follow, who actually, despite a rough start to this game, picked up 5 kills and a placement point. So they go up to 11th on 19 points to end the night.
When we're down to the top 7 teams now. And Vega Esports, they're in the circle. Pretty decent position for them, but then get Loba. It's observing them. And I wonder what does he have in mind. He's probably just waiting for his teammates to come follow up in his position across the road. So once they're there, then they're probably going to push Vega Esports. I think that's something that they're considering.
Oh, you just can't sit still like that. I mean, I don't know if he's disconnected. I don't know if something's happened. But it's very rare in PUBG that you'll see someone just sitting still, always moving, always strafing, always keeping active. There is a world in which he actually may have DC'd. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because you don't typically see players just sitting there like that. And there's a good reason for it. As we just saw from Tentrip, he'll pick up the free kill and say thank you very much. ATO go down to 3 players, down 2 as Gops is eliminated. That one's stolen away by Nan. So Happy Squad ending the night on a positive note. They're up to 6 kills, 4 alive into the final 7.
And Shadow Esports already at 10. Okay, they're on a rampage here in this round. Eventually, they could top number 1 by the end of the day. They're not too far away from overtaking NRG in the overalls now. But for Happy Squad, Tentrip needs to pick up, but his teammates there together with him. And here comes Team Newbies. They're going to push in onto Happy Squad.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot from them tonight, but talk about the clown car. It's a good entry, but Unforgiven did get a team kill onto Anarchy. That's not ideal. Down to Monty and Elgin bots for Happy Squad to try and make the most of this, get into the top 5, pick up a few more kill points. Shot in the back from Kamel's onto Monty. Ducks and weaves his way back, not wanting to overextend or over push. Get back to safety, deny the line of sight, but can't get back in time as Queen is able to shut down Monty. Elgin bots will just sit in his hole and hope and pray. But 6 kills for Happy Squad. Better way to end the night. And gives them something to build on going into tomorrow. They would know full well they haven't been performing, I think, to the level that this team is capable of. as Setsuna will lose that shield as unlucky. Now needing to push out of this compound. Blue Zone nades galore. Frag grenades as well. Goni just avoiding that one. Sunny side up, ticking in the blue. Does he get a heal off? No. Goes down to Jexy. Could get revived. He's in a smoke. He's in the circle. But it would be a rough one, and you've got to make the decision quickly. Smoke thrown out again from Goni. Shadow Esport have set up beautifully on the north side of this circle, and all 4 players up. May come down to them or Vega as the 2 healthy 4-man squad. Team Newbies on the south side, though, keep running rings around everyone. They get rid of Ultra Bots now into the top 5 as Team Newbies having a good close to the night. Needed it as well after a quiet night 1.
There's almost no way for Runex to get out of this. It's going to be pretty tough for them. Lots of open space. They have to push forward. Sunny side up. Will be gunned down by Hansi. Still, Shadow Esports. Something unlucky. This nade, a little bit of an overshot there. Did a bit of damage to Hansi, but not enough to knock him down. But still, they don't have that space to move forward. The smoke will be off soon.
Yeah, I mean, they need more frag grenades and mollies just as much as they need the smokes just to try and relieve the pressure. 11 kills for Shadow Esports. This has been a big end to the night, and it almost seems likely now that they will finish in first place to close night 1. It's not going to be a big gap by any means. It's been a pretty good lobby tonight. It sets up night 2 tomorrow perfectly, that it's primed to be a real contest. But for Shadow Esports, I like the way they're playing this. They're not over aggressive. They're not putting themselves out in the open. They know that unlucky need to push into them, out to them. Just bide your time. Patience, it'll be your virtue. Setsuna with the knock on to Luna. As Jexy has been knocked, Sunny side up does a decent job. And because of the circle shift, Vega have not pushed up. They've actually elected to take the fight down below against Team Newbies and Alter Ego, as Unlucky will be left to their own devices to try and push past Shadow Esports, and I don't think it's going to work out. Indeed, they're eliminated out in 5th place. That gives the north side of the zone over to Shadow Esports. Alter Ego, big nade from Tede, sees their demise. Shadow go into the top spot, and big game from Vega after dropping down the leaderboard, now back up into the top 5 with 9 kills and top 3.
And Shadow Esports, done with that, they are moving into the circle. They're going towards where Team Newbies is at. And Team Newbies just right in front of Kamals. Kamals sees him, and they will take him down. Unforgiven down.
I mean, the lobby now is kind of broken up into 2 brackets. There's the top 5 and there's the rest. GSW are as close to 14th as they are to the team above them in 5th. That's a big point gap that's starting to develop. Not big in the grand scheme of things with 2 nights to go after this, but it just starts to highlight that I think those top 5 teams have really been the most consistent on night 1 tonight here for week 2. But big from Newbies, it's not going to be the biggest point tally from this game, but just to get a top 3, a couple of kills, a good couple of highlight plays. They dealt with some pressure from Happy Squad. They won that battle. They should walk away from this game pretty happy with whatever happens from here, which is most likely going to be 3rd. I mean, there's 4 up for Shadow, 4 up for Vega. They're not going to fight immediately. Vega on the outside just kind of circling around. As Shadow, they've got best position, 15 kills as well. AJ actually knocked down by Translucent. That might be enough for Shadow Esport to get a little aggressive off that if they want, but all they're doing is just taking space, getting center of the circle, put the shield up. That's smart. It's calculated play. Yes, there's a knock, but we don't have to get ourselves out of position to go chasing.
And now the pressure is going to be on to Vega and Team Newbies. Zone is going to start to close, and they'll be forced to move forward. Lots of open space, and Shadow Esports, they're ready here. Look at the cover that they have. It's going to be hard for Team Newbies or even Vega to try to penetrate through. Team Newbies,
Vega sending
something out of this.
Yeah, I mean, Vega know full well they just sit there, they're just sitting darks, but if they send it, well, this is also likely to happen. It was probably the only play that they could make. Maybe try and catch Shadow Esports off guard a little bit, and indeed, it is going to be Vega wiped out rather comfortably. 3 kills for Shadow Esports from that exchange. Leaves them still, though, with the chance to pick up the 20 bomb as they now take a decent lead on the leaderboard. There's 19. Anarchy will give them 20, and it will be a 30-point game from Shadow Esport. A huge performance, unless they absolutely hard throw it, which they won't. Hansi puts an end to it, and Shadow Esports, a 30-point game, 20 kills, and the win. Absolutely massive, and sets them up nicely going into tomorrow's games at the top of the leaderboard.
Oh, that is absolutely insane. 20 kills with a chicken dinner. I believe that's the highest amount of kills so far. And Shadow Esports, great work by them. Coming in from the middle of the leaderboard. Now they are leading the board itself, overtaking NRG for sure. They are day number 1's winner. But can they maintain their performance in the next 2 days? That will be the bigger question to be answered tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, it was Vega Esports that had an 18 kill win back last week. That was the highest kill win that we had. That was the start of night 2. So they surpassed that one with a 20 bomb. Big performance for Shadow Esports. And the thing I like the most about it is it didn't just come out of nowhere. They were playing really well tonight and they were really consistent. They just didn't have the one big pop-off game. And then there it is. And boy, was it big. 30 points in the one game is absolutely massive and sees them take a decent little lead actually going into tomorrow. I mean, the gap to NRG might not be that massive, but then the gap to 3rd and 4th, etc., is actually going to be quite extensive after just one night, after just 5 games, because of the 30 points that they just got. Look, it was a good game, good way to close the night. Fun circle out in the open, a lot of fighting. Utility was absolutely paramount in this match. There were some teams that finished the night better, compared to some of the earlier games that they played, and some teams where, yeah, it's just not working, it's just not clicking. Esports being one of those, ATO another. Yeah, Team Newbies a little bit better. At least they were able to finish in the top 3, but only picked up the 2 kill points. But Shadow Esports, you can see coming into this game, they had the 37 points, and then they just rocket up to 67 points as they go in first place.
And that was a good showing of the utility usage by Shadow Esports that allowed them to win that fight up north. And they had to fight with the NRG. So it so happened that, okay, the number 1 and number 2 team had to fight with each other. And obviously Shadow Esports, they won that fight. And that was the last thing that they need to deal with at the north. So once they were done with that, they move into the circle. Then it's pretty much gatekeeping role for them, especially on the northern side. And they easily won this one against Unlucky, because Unlucky, they had no space to play with. There was so much open space in front of them, and with the blue behind them putting pressure, like they have nowhere else to go except to move forward.
Yeah, and it's a good example of the patience from Shadow Esports. So they maintained their 2-2 split instead of getting aggressive and over peaking against Savageman Esports. They knew they had the angles. They knew that they would get them eventually. If they had to push down into that bowl, they would have opened them up to a potential third party against Game Start win. So really, really solid game to kind of look at what their fundamentals were and why they were so successful. It wasn't luck. It wasn't as if they just were so much better in terms of the fragging department. They genuinely had good PUBG fundamentals that helped them win that game based on what they were doing, not just at the end of the game, but towards the mid part of the game, because they were involved for the vast majority of it, which is usually the case when you go and get 20 kills. You're not going to get 20 kills by sitting in a building at the for 20-something minutes. Usually you're pretty heavily in the action, and you can see that as well with the utility usage that they were using throughout the game. That's a lot of smokes, a lot of frag grenades, 3,000 total damage, 20 kills, just an all-round performance where just from start to finish, they didn't make a mistake. There were teams that they could fight on their terms and made the most of it. So big game from them. Vega also, still had a very good performance. Team Newbies, a lot of damage considering they only got the 2 kills. So a bit disappointing, I guess, for them that they couldn't get the reward for what they were actually doing in the game, outside of also getting 3rd place finish, and a good way to close the night for Happy Squad. I mean, I think that team is a really, really solid team where it's just maybe not clicking at the moment, but maybe the last game tonight will put them in better stead going to tomorrow.
Yeah, I also want to point out that the top 4 percentage in Erangel, earlier during this round, we saw that Vega Esports had the highest percentage, and they're just showing it again. Like, they started off the day in Erangel with the chicken dinner, and now they ended the day in Erangel as well, coming up here as one of the top teams. So they're just showing consistency, and we can tell that this is their favorite map. But for Shadow Esports, man, they just shattered the record right now with 20 kill points, and majority of them by none other than Setsuna. But the highest damage output, though, that did a lot of work is Hansi.
Yeah, but also you look at the damage taken from Jaxi, and he was the one on Miramar too that got them a pretty good finish. Like, I mean, you can easily look at the 11 kills from Setsuna and the damage from Hansi, but sometimes, you know, the things that like Jaxi is doing in terms of staying alive, like they still had 4 up at the end of the game, and he took double the damage of everyone else. So he was able to soak up some of the pressure so that the likes of Setsuna and Hansi were in the better positions to get these kills. They weren't taking the fights as much in terms of the shots coming their way because Jaxi's playing a bit more aggressive and he's getting the damage taken. So it's a full team effort. Even if Setsuna is the one that picks up the vast majority of the kills, you saw the damage numbers and everyone was active. So it takes 4 players in PUBG to have these really big games. And so it was a full team effort for Shadow Esports, and well deserved for what ended up now being a crowning moment on a very solid night. Again, Vega 14 points in the game. Only 2 teams picked up double-digit points. Incredibly top-heavy with a big soaking of points going the way of Shadow Esports. And the fact that we ended up having 5 teams with 0 points in the game, it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, 5 donuts here. And among the 5, Savageman Esports and Oculus. Man, what are you guys doing down there? It's just unusual seeing them down there, especially for Savageman Esports, who had a pretty good day today, and the champion of last week, Oculus as well. Yeah, they started off pretty okay today, but they kind of slid down the overall leaderboard. So yeah, they need to pick themselves up again tomorrow, because here's the total leaderboard and Oculus is out of the top half.
Yeah, and as I said before, for Games Start Win, 27.6 plays, they're 13 off 5th, and they're 14. Well, yeah, they're 14 off 14th, and you could make it 15 off, 15th. So what I'm kind of getting at there is the gap to the 1 team above them is almost the same to the 9 teams below them. So is that going to end up being a runaway top 5 going into tomorrow? That's where I'm going to kind of have my eyes going into tomorrow night, is do we see those same top 5 teams again overperforming compared to the rest of the lobby, and we have a bit of a breakaway pack for week 2 that could end up happening, certainly with the way that they're all playing. Shadow Esports, I mean, picking up essentially half their points in 1 game is the outlier. So are they going to be able, they're not going to be able to drop 20 kills every game. So what are they going to do when they kind of come back down to earth a little bit? NRG picked up 8 kills, no placement points. So when they went from win, at least that they were able to have a game where it wasn't perfect, had to rotate, had to take fights, got no placement points, but still got 8 kills. That goes against the grain from the way that they were successful earlier on tonight, which is a good sign that they're going to be competitive going into the next 2 nights as we look at today's records for week 2, day 1.
Yeah, and even though Oculus, they didn't really had a good day, but they still have representatives up here, right? With Alec topping the damage dealt, with kills, CJ, average survivor time, CJ is there as well, and Alex there too. But of course, this is because of the accumulated stats from last week. So that's why they are still holding on to that, because of their good performance last week. But if they don't pick themselves up tomorrow, we might not see any of these representatives from Oculus up here.
And speaking of tomorrow, of course, we return, same place, same time, same maps as well. Through the next 5 we go. And as I kind of touched on, very important, second night now. If you're not in that top 5, tomorrow night becomes incredibly important if you want to finish in the top 5, because if that breakaway pack happens, and we've seen plenty of times with PUBG tournaments, you get breakaway packs, whether it be a top 2, top 3, top 5, they do start to develop by the game 5, game 6 margin, and then it's pretty solidified by 10 to 12. And so then usually you go into the last night of a week or tournament and you've already got that breakaway pack, and usually it doesn't change except for the positions within the pack. So if you want to get into that top 5, I kind of look to probably the first 2 to 3 matches tomorrow are very, very important.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? Tomorrow is going to be it. If not, well, then the last day is going to be very, very difficult. And this is what's fun about the format, right? You only have 3 days and you have 5 games a day. So games just run by really fast. And in fact, right now, we're already done with the 5 games of day number 1. We're starting to see okay, some teams really perform, but can they retain their performance tomorrow onwards? That'll be the question for tomorrow itself, ladies and gentlemen. for tonight, that is it for day number 1 of week number 2 of the PUBG Master Series 2026 phase number 1. My name is Sir Cloud, together with my buddy here, Xenox. We will be back with you again tomorrow. But then again, before that, we'd like to remind you that we have more to come after this, which is the PUBG EMEA Championship Spring.
Yeah, make sure you go watch that at 4 o'clock UTC. Of course, EMA always good, fun action. So excited to see how that's going to play out over there as well. But, you know, as you were saying, of course, you know, we'll be back tomorrow, same place, keeping things fresh here over in APAC. But there is EMEA as well for those that want to go and watch that region.
Yeah. And I guess like for you, it will be like really, really late in the night and you're going to stay up to watch that. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good one as well. And you definitely don't want to miss that one, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, for us, it is going to be the end of the night as well. Of course, tomorrow there'll be a lot more exciting games that you don't want to miss out on. Will Oculus finally bounce back? What do you think?
What do I think? Well, I thought you were asking the audience. I think that well,
we have a little bit of time, so why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look, tomorrow should be fun. Obviously, we've kind of set up for it perfectly. I think tonight was really, really solid in terms of the results that we got. It sets up the lobby. The last game, I think, really transforms tomorrow now with what Shadow Esports were able to do. So it sets it up. Again, make sure you tune in same time, same place tomorrow for all of the PUBG Master Series action. Thank you so much